Chapter 3348. Emo Qingyun wants to participate in the Holy War's qualification battle? Shock appeared on Kong Qingliu's face. She was very surprised by this news. Even if she racked her brains, she would never have thought that Emo Qingyun would have such a plan. Kong Qingliu thought for a moment and made a decision. It's not impossible for him to participate in the Holy War's qualification battle. It's just that his cultivation seems to be only at the late stage of the great divinity realm. With his cultivation, I'm afraid he won't be able to get a good result. Kong Lanyue nodded in agreement after hearing Kong Qingliu's answer. However, thinking of Emo Qingyun's true intentions, Kong Lanyue revealed a faint smile and said, "Patriarch, young Master Emo isn't participating in the qualification battle solely to participate in the Holy War. He wants to use the qualification battle to increase his fame in the Profound Heaven Saint clan. He's thinking that if his fame increases, his old friends in the Profound Heaven Saint clan will know of his arrival." After listening to Kong Lanyue's explanation, Kong Qingliu nodded in understanding. If that was the case, then everything made sense. In that case, we'll give him a chance. In Kong Qingliu's view, she wouldn't lose anything by giving Emo Qingyun a chance. This method of selling a favor was very cost-effective. "I understand," Kong Lanyue responded knowingly. Seeing that the matter was completed, Kong Lanyue didn't want to stay any longer. He got up and said goodbye to Kong Qingliu. "If there's nothing else, I'll withdraw first." "Bring the news to Mr. Emo, all right." Kong Qingliu nodded. Immediately, Kong Lanyue walked out of the hall and brought the news to Emo Qingyun. Not long after, Kong Lanyue arrived at Emo Qingyun's residence and saw Undawn and Kong Lanyue guarding the courtyard. He asked, "You two, where did Mr. Emo go? I have something to tell him." Undawn said, "Master is in seclusion. If it's not too important, you can tell us. When Master comes out of seclusion, we'll pass the news to him. Of course, if it's a particularly urgent matter, we can try to wake Master up." Hearing Undawn say this, Kong Lanyue revealed a hesitant expression, considering what to do. Soon, Kong Lanyue had a plan. He said, "This matter isn't too urgent. It's just that Sir Emo asked me to help him request to participate in the qualification battle. I told the Patriarch about his situation. The Patriarch agreed to his request and allowed him to participate in the qualification battle. Since he's in seclusion, I won't disturb him. Once he comes out, I hope you two can pass the message on." After hearing the purpose of Kong Lanyue's visit, the two of them didn't dare to be negligent and hurriedly said, "Elder Kong Lanyue, please rest assured. When Master comes out of seclusion, we will definitely bring the news." Kong Lanyue nodded and left. She didn't to Lanyue. After sending off Kong Lanyue with their eyes, the two of them continued to cultivate and protect Emo Qingyun. When the maids in the valley saw a beautiful figure approaching, they all went up to greet her. When the hidden dangers went up to greet her, a young girl in luxurious clothes also walked over. "Little sister Linglong, did you really go to the Patriarch and give up on participating in the Holy War?" The young girl in luxurious clothes walked to the former's side and looked at her in surprise. Hearing the other party's question, the young girl named Linglong nodded and said, "It's just that the Patriarch didn't agree. He told me to participate in the Holy War even if it's just going through the motions." As Linglong's words fell, she revealed a helpless expression, showing a state of mental exhaustion. Seeing Linglong's expression, the young girl in luxurious clothes smiled and said, "It's just participating in the Holy War. Why are you so worried? Aren't you looking for someone? How can you find someone if you stay here? Go out more and ask more people. Won't your chances be greater?" Hearing the young girl's words, Linglong nodded. Although the chances weren't great, it was better than hiding in the valley. After being comforted by the young girl, Linglong's mood was much better. She said, "Big sister Kong Xian, thank you for your advice. You're right, I should go out for a walk." "That's right. Seeing Linglong's expression, Kong Xian smiled happily and a curious look appeared in her eyes. She said, "You always say you're waiting for someone, waiting for him to come find you. You never say what he's called. You also don't tell us what he looks like. We can't help you even if we want to. If you tell us his name and what he looks like, we can help you find him. Think about it. What if he comes to the holy clan of Kong Xian, but no one knows him and he's kicked out?" After listening to Kong Xian's explanation, Linglong frowned and felt that it made sense. Without someone to guide them, outsiders couldn't come to the holy clan of Kong Xian. "His name is Mo Qingyun." Linglong thought for a moment and told Kong Xian who she was waiting for. Hearing Linglong's words, Kong Xian frowned and looked thoughtful. She said, "This name sounds familiar. I seem to have heard it somewhere. Where is it?" Linglong was not surprised by Kong Xian's reaction. She said, "Recently, Elder Lan Yu is receiving a guest. His name is Mo Qingyun. You must have heard of this name because of this reason." After listening to Linglong's words, Kong Xian's eyes widened, revealing a look of realization. She said, Yes, it's the guest that Elder Lan Yu is receiving. I didn't expect you to know. It seems that although you don't go out, the news is quite fast. Looking at you, could it be that you've seen Mo Qingyun? Isn't he the person you're waiting for?" Linglong shook her head and said, "I didn't look for him. He shouldn't be the person I'm waiting for." Kong Xian's face was filled with disappointment. Looking at her like this, it was as if she was waiting for someone but didn't see the other party. Kong Xian eased her mood and said, "It's okay. At least now there is someone with the same name. Next, maybe the person you're waiting for will come." After Kong Xian said this, Linglong's brows gradually relaxed, and her mood seemed to have become much better. Seeing that Linglong's mood had improved, Kong Xian also seemed relieved. She said, "That guy called Mo Qingyun, you haven't seen him, right? I'll help you take a look, and then copy his appearance for you." Linglong's expression changed slightly, and she was obviously looking forward to hearing Kong Xian's words. "Okay." Linglong nodded. Seeing that Linglong accepted her suggestion, Kong Xian smiled with joy and showed an excited look. She said, "In that case, I'll go find him now and see his true face." After Kong Xian finished speaking, she ran out of the valley without waiting for Linglong to explain. Chapter 3349. Not long after, a beautiful figure walked into Mo Qingyun's courtyard. Anchun and Ao Lai immediately sensed the arrival of the beautiful figure. They looked at her cautiously. They saw her gaze wander around the courtyard as if she was looking for someone. Anchun and Ao Lai exchanged glances. They were both puzzled and confused. "Miss, what business do you have here?" Anchun asked coldly when he saw the strange woman before him. She only returned to her senses when she heard Anchun's question. She smiled at Anchun playfully and said, "Sorry, I was thinking about something earlier and didn't notice you. I've come to find someone. Which one of you is Mo Qingyun?" Anchun were dumbfounded by the other party's question. "She's here to find Mo Qingyun?" Anchun and Ao Lai's attitudes became much friendlier after they understood why she had come. They said, "Master is currently cultivating in seclusion. Miss, why are you looking for him? If it's nothing important, you can tell us first. We can pass on your message once Master comes out of seclusion." Anchun and Ao Lai could tell that the beautiful woman before them had no ill intentions. The woman was disappointed when she learned that Mo Qingyun was cultivating in seclusion. She said, "Since he's not here, then forget it. I'll come find him next time." With that, the woman walked out of the courtyard without waiting for Anchun and Ao Lai's reply. Anchun and Ao Lai were confused when they saw the woman turn around to leave. Her actions were just too strange. Anchun thought about it and said in a hurry, "Miss, please leave your name. I'll pass it on to Master once he comes out of seclusion." The woman did not reply to Anchun's request. She quickly disappeared from their sight. "What a strange person. Let her be. We'll know what she wants when the time comes. Anchun and Aolai were open-minded. After a simple conversation, they continued to cultivate. The woman was slightly annoyed when she left Mo Qingyun's courtyard. She said, "He's actually cultivating in seclusion. I've come here for nothing. His two servants are both god kings. It looks like he really is extraordinary. He's a very mysterious person. Looks like I'll have to wait a few days before I can verify Linglong's identity." The woman muttered to herself and shook her head. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, Mo Qingyun had already been in the royal bloodline Holy Land for half a month. In the following period of time, no one came to disturb Mo Qingyun. Everything was very peaceful. Seeing that half a month had passed, and Mo Qingyun still showed no signs of coming out of seclusion, Anchun and Aolai were a little anxious. Calculating the time, the qualification battle for the Holy War was about to begin. If Mo Qingyun didn't come out of seclusion soon, he might miss it. What should we do? Should we wake Mr. Mo up? Looking at Mo Qingyun's house, Aolai's expression was tense as he asked for Anchun's opinion. Hearing Aolai's words, Anchun frowned, and a struggle rose in his heart. With his understanding of Mo Qingyun had always been punctual. Now that he was still in seclusion, he must have reached a critical moment in his cultivation, which was why he was delayed. If they interrupted his cultivation now, it might cause great trouble and greatly affect Mo Qingyun's cultivation. Where did Mr. Mo go? The qualification battle for the Holy War is about to begin. At this moment, when Anchun were anxious, a concerned voice rang out. Hearing this question, Anchun hurriedly turned their heads and saw Kong Lanyue walk into the courtyard. "Master is still cultivating in seclusion." Anchun nodded and said, "He still hasn't come out of seclusion, so he should be at a critical moment in his cultivation. If we suddenly interrupt his cultivation, it will definitely affect his cultivation. We can't do that. But if we don't wake him up, what if he misses the qualification battle for the Holy War? Senior, do you have any good suggestions?" Anchun's request caused Kong Lanyue to frown. This is a bit difficult. Allowing him to participate in the qualification battle for the Holy War is already an exception made by the Patriarch. It's absolutely impossible for the Patriarch to delay the qualification battle for the Holy War for him again. Hearing Kong Lanyue's worried words, Anchun's expressions tensed, and they both revealed anxious expressions. Kong Lanyue thought for a moment and said, "How about this? I will go to the Patriarch first and try to buy him some time. As for the two of you, immediately pay attention to Mr. Mo's situation. If he doesn't come out of seclusion in another 2 hours, either wake him up or have him give up on the qualification battle for the Holy War." After Kong Lanyue finished speaking, she shook her head and quickly walked out of the courtyard. She never imagined that such an unforeseen event would occur. At this moment, as soon as Kong Lanyue walked out of the courtyard, an astonishing aura erupted from Mo Qingyun's room. Then, threads of laws with powerful auras gathered in the air above the room. 20,000 threads of laws. The number of threads of laws that Master has condensed is actually the same as mine. Looking at the number of threads of laws in the air above the room, Anchun were both shocked. Mo Qingyun's cultivation speed and his monstrous degree had shocked them. It seems that Master should have broken through to the celestial god realm. So, putting aside the strength of the threads of laws, Benefactor's foundation is twice that of an ordinary celestial god. However, looking at the current situation, Master's seclusion should be ending soon. Unfortunately, time is too tight. Benefactor has no time to stabilize his realm. Thinking of Mo Qingyun's foundation and background, Aolai and Anchun exclaimed in admiration. Under the watchful eyes of Anchun, the threads of laws in the air above the room rapidly dissipated. Not long after, the door to Mo Qingyun's room opened and he walked out. "Congratulations, Master! Your cultivation has taken another step. Congratulations, benefactor, for breaking through to the celestial god realm. Anchun and Anchun walked forward to congratulate him. Hearing Anchun and Anchen's words, Emo Chinyan sighed and shook his head with slight disappointment. He said, "Time is a little tight. I haven't broken through to the celestial god realm yet. Currently, I can only be considered quasi-celestial god realm." Quasi-celestial god realm. Hearing Emo Chinyan's answer, Anchun and Anchen's bodies trembled, their eyes going wide. I just quasi-celestial god realm. At the quasi-celestial god realm stage, the number of threads of laws condensed actually reached 20,000. If he broke through to the celestial god realm, then how many threads of laws could he condense? 25,000? Or 30,000? The qualification battle is about to begin. Let's go over. Ignoring Anchun and Anchen's shock, Emo Chinyan threw down a sentence and walked out of the courtyard. Only when Emo Chinyan walked out of the courtyard did Anchun and Anchun come back to their senses and hurriedly chased after Emo Chinyan. When the two people chased closely, they saw a strong shock in each other's eyes. To put it bluntly, Emo Chinyan's current achievements broke the eternal record and iron law. Chapter 3350. In a massive plaza. At this moment, many people had gathered here. There were gorgeous beauties as well as dignified youths. These people looked very young, but their cultivations were not simple. At most, they had reached the celestial god realm. Above this plaza, there were floating platforms. These platforms were surrounded by dazzling lights. Among these high platforms, there were many young people sitting on the smaller ones. On the largest platform, there were dignified elders sitting there. Patriarch Emo Chinyan is at a critical stage of cultivation. He might arrive a bit later. When Kong Lanyue arrived, she reported Emo Chinyan's situation to Green Willow Kong. Then, she added, I would like to request that you postpone the start of the qualification battle. Hearing Kong Lanyue's words, Kong Qinglyo's brows furrowed tightly, revealing a difficult expression. This really made things difficult for her. Without waiting for Qinglu to respond, some of the elders sitting nearby expressed their dissatisfaction. Nonsense. What qualifications does that brat Emo Chinyan have to make us do this? A little child with a great deity realm cultivation. Letting him participate in the qualification battle is already giving him a great deal of face. He really doesn't know how to appreciate favors. In my opinion, he should be disqualified. Like this, all troubles will end. An elder said in dissatisfaction. Seeing the elder's attitudes, Kong Lanyue's expression became even more tense. The worry in his heart also became even more intense. She didn't expect that the elders would have such a big reaction when they heard her request. Soon after, Kong Lanyue looked at Qinglu, hoping that she could stand on his side. Qinglu thought for a moment and said, Elder Lanyue, I'm afraid I can't agree to this. If Emo Chinyan can't make it in time, he can only blame himself. At this moment, as Qinglu was speaking, she saw a familiar voice. Emo Chinyan had come. Soon after, a faint smile appeared on Kong Qinglyo's face, and she said, What a worrisome little fellow. He came at the right time. Hearing Qinglyo's words, Kong Lanyue followed her gaze and saw Emo Chinyan's group of three. Who? Seeing Emo Chinyan arrive, Kong Lanyue let out a deep breath, his hanging heart finally calming down. Now that Emo Chinyan had arrived, Kong Qinglu no longer had any misgivings. She said, Elder Zhenwen, it's about time. Go and announce the start of the qualification battle. Hearing Kong Qinglyo's order, the elder immediately stood up and walked towards the front of the high platform. As the old man stood up, a powerful aura erupted from his body. This was a peak god emperor expert. Under the suppression of the old man's aura, the young people in the square gradually regained their composure. So strong. Sensing the old man's aura, Emo Chinyan's expression was slightly shocked, and a hint of reverence appeared in his eyes. He felt a great sense of danger from this old man. Although he had sensed an even more powerful aura from the corpse of the Guamen Divine Venerate in the Guamen Divine Venerate's remains, it was only natural. However, no matter what, the supreme god of the Guamen sect was dead. None of them were alive, which made him feel more shocked. Quiet, everyone! Elder Jinwen swept his gaze over everyone and shouted, making everyone quiet down and listen to him. Very quickly, the huge square became absolutely silent. Elder Jinwen said, "Now, let's begin the tabulation of information. Next, I will activate the identity roll. When the identity roll is activated, each of you will send a strand of your consciousness into it." Elder Jinwen didn't wait for anyone to reply as he took out a wooden tablet. There were many tiny words carved on it. However, when the wooden tablet was activated, it rapidly grew in size, and the words on it also grew in size. Soon, the names of the people participating in the qualification battle appeared on the wooden tablet. Seeing that, no one hesitated. One by one, they sent their divine awareness into the wooden tablet in midair. Before long, all the people participating in the assessment sent their consciousness into it. As their consciousness entered the wooden tablet, the names on it blossomed with a dazzling light. Seeing that everyone had sent their consciousness into the tablet, Elder Jinwen nodded in satisfaction and said, "Now, those who are not participating in the qualification battle, leave the square within 30 breaths. If you don't leave, you will be responsible for the consequences." Hearing Elder Jinwen's words, some of the people accompanying him on the square all flew to the high platform in the air. After a while, the square became a little more spacious. The remaining people were all people participating in the qualification battle. Mo Qingyun roughly counted and found that the number of people surrendering was about 1,000. 1,180 people? Looking at the number of people participating in the qualification battle, Mo Qingyun's expression was slightly shocked. He was a little surprised by this. Originally, he thought that only the 72 princes and 36 princesses would be able to participate in the qualification contest. Now, it seemed that he had misunderstood. It seems that some people with good potential or good status can participate through special channels. When Mo Qingyun thought of this situation, he immediately understood. He felt that everything was only natural. While Mo Qingyun was pondering, Elder Jinwen formed a mysterious hand seal with both hands. Once the hand seal was formed, it flew into the wooden tablet and made the aura of the wooden tablet increase greatly. Then, the wooden tablet suddenly descended and smashed towards Mo Qingyun and the others. Seeing this situation, Mo Qingyun's expression was one of shock. He instinctively wanted to dodge. However, before Mo Qingyun could move, they were covered by the wooden tablet and quickly divided into 11 areas. At this time, the huge wooden tablet from before also split into 11 small wooden tablets and shrouded everyone. After Elder Jinwen did all this, he began to say in a deep voice, "The grouping is complete. Next, there will be an elimination battle. One person from each group can advance. After the 11 groups advance, there will be a rotation battle and one person will be eliminated." Hearing Elder Jinwen's narration, Mo Qingyun's expression was slightly shocked as he felt a great pressure. The early elimination battle was fine, but the rotation battle was the key. Those who could kill their way out of each group were undoubtedly the strongest of the strong. It was undoubtedly extremely difficult to eliminate even one of these 11 people. Mo Qingyun, I didn't think that we would be in the same group. Let's see where you run this time. Just as Mo Qingyun was thinking, a cold voice sounded from behind him. Hearing this voice, Mo Qingyun knew who it was. Who else could it be other than Kong Shi? Hearing this, Mo Qingyun turned his head and looked at Kong Shi. He said, "You're so excited to see me. Are you itching for a beating? Are you in a hurry to be taught a lesson?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Kong Shi's face darkened and he gritted his teeth in anger. Before Kong Shi could get angry, a young man beside him said, You're Emo Chingyun. You're indeed quite bold. I hope you can last until you fight me. Chapter 33:51. Looks like you should be Kong Ing. Looking at Kong Ing, Emo Chingyun was very calm and did not panic at all. Don't worry, I'm the only one in our group who can advance. Emo Chingyun's words immediately attracted everyone's attention and they all turned to look at him. At this moment, everyone's gazes towards him were filled with hostility. Emo Chingyun was really too arrogant. He actually dared to say such words. This was contempt for everyone. Who is this kid? How dare he talk so big? A kid with a late great celestial cultivation is not afraid of biting his tongue when he talks big. I remember this kid. I hope I don't meet him in the next fight. Me too. If I meet him, I'll definitely tell him to keep a low profile. Words of displeasure came from everyone's mouths. Kong Shi's heart was filled with pride when he saw that Emo Chingyun had provoked everyone because of a single sentence. Kong Ing sneered. Emo Chingyun, thank you for telling me the truth. What do you mean by the evils you bring upon yourself are the hardest to bear? Your current actions are exactly that. Emo Chingyun chuckled at Kong Ying's complacency. Kong Ing, if you think what I said just now is the worst to bear, it's because you're not strong enough. The way I see it, there's nothing wrong with what I said earlier. As for their dissatisfaction, I'll just defeat them in the next fight. Hearing Emo Chingyun's words, the surrounding people became even more displeased. Arrogant, savage, condescending, this was probably what it meant. After that, everyone pointed at Emo Chingyun and whispered among themselves, wishing for nothing more than to tear Emo Chingyun apart. Kong Ing, who was standing in front of Emo Chingyun, smiled brightly and said, "Very interesting. I originally thought that there was no point in attacking you. It seems that you're more capable than I thought. I hope you're really capable." After Kong Ing finished speaking, he ignored Emo Chingyun and turned to walk to the side. Seeing that Kong Ing had retreated, Kong Ing and the others followed. At this moment, seats appeared in each of the fighting areas. These seats were for those who had not yet had their turn to fight to have a place to rest. Emo Chingyun glanced around and quickly found his seat. He walked in calmly. As for the hostile gazes around him, he chose to ignore them. When Emo Chingyun walked to his seat and sat down, he saw two names fly out of the small sign in the air. When these two names flew out, two rays of light burst forth and enveloped the two people. These two people were in the first group to fight. This method of drawing lots is quite interesting. Looking at this scene before him, Emo Chingyun rubbed his chin with interest. As Emo Chingyun muttered to himself, the two of them began to spar. Their attacks were extremely intense. Judging from their performances, they were extremely concerned about their qualifications to participate in the sacred battle. After watching the two fight for a while, Emo Chingyun had a rough understanding of their strength. These two people's strength is about the same as Kong Ying's. It seems that they are just here to make up the numbers. After observing their strength, Emo Chingyun immediately lost interest in their fight. In Emo Chingyun's opinion, with the strength of these two people, they would definitely not be able to stand out. Immediately, Emo Chingyun turned his head and looked at the other fighting areas. He saw a familiar figure among the two people fighting in the 9th area. It was Kong Xianyue, whom he had not seen for a while. At this moment, Kong Xianyue defeated her opponent with only one palm. I didn't expect her strength to improve so much in a short time. Seeing the power of Kong Xianyue's palm, Emo Chingyun was slightly shocked. He was surprised by her speed of improvement. It seems that she will be the one to advance to the 9th area. Miss Xianin is stronger. As long as there are no accidents, her chances of advancing to the 9th area are very high. If that's the case, if I advance to the 9th area in the 10th area, I might have to fight with them. Bang! At this moment, while Emo Chingyun was thinking, a muffled sound was heard. The result of the two people fighting in front of him had been decided. Soon after, one of the two names in the air collapsed and turned into specks of light. These light spots did not dissipate directly. Instead, they merged with the other name, causing the light of this name to become stronger. At the same time, as the light of that person's name became stronger, the aura he emitted seemed to become stronger as well. The intensity of the light of the name actually increases one's strength. Seeing this, Emo Qingyun's expression was slightly shocked. He was very surprised. At this moment, before Emo Qingyun could calm down, he saw his name flying out. Along with his name, two words that he was familiar with flew out. Kong Ying. His opponent in the first round was Kong Ying, who he was familiar with. Seeing that his opponent was Emo Qingyun, Kong Ying's face was clearly filled with shock. Of course, while Kong Ying was shocked, he was more nervous and fearful. Although his strength had improved a lot in the past half a month, he still felt a little guilty when facing Emo Qingyun. After all, when he fought with Emo Qingyun in Kongxiang Dynasty, he had always been suppressed by Emo Qingyun. What a coincidence! Emo Qingyun smiled faintly as he muttered to himself. He stood up and walked towards Kong Ying. When he was not far away from Kong Ying, Emo Qingyun stopped and smiled. It seems that the heavens are merciful. They know that you are itching for a beating and want to be taught a lesson. Now they will fulfill your request. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Kong Ying was so angry that his face turned ashen. His face kept twitching. Emo Qingyun was too much. He had humiliated him time and time again. Emo Qingyun, you are too arrogant. You will not have a good ending. Kong Ying snorted coldly. He stared coldly at Emo Qingyun and said, Also, my strength has improved a lot since I returned to the clan. I hope that you will not be shocked later. What a coincidence. I have also made a breakthrough recently. I hope that you will not be shocked too. Emo Qingyun did not care about Kong Ying's words at all as he replied playfully. As soon as Emo Qingyun finished speaking, his figure moved and he took the initiative to attack Kong Shi. When Emo Qingyun attacked first, the people in the 10th zone were shocked. Emo Qingyun was as arrogant as ever. With his late almighty cultivation, he actually dared to attack Kong Ying, who was a late divine king. Was this considered throwing an egg against a rock? In the face of Emo Qingyun's attack, although Kong Shi was furious, he was also very wary. This was because he sensed a powerful pressure from Emo Qingyun, as well as an even stronger sense of danger. Emo Qingyun had indeed become stronger. Chapter 33:52. In the air, on the largest platform. He actually took the initiative to attack Kong Shi. He's very confident in his battle strength. Kong Qinglio's beautiful eyes moved slightly when she saw Emo Qingyun's actions. A wisp of shock flashed in her eyes. She had also heard about Emo Qingyun's matter. But she hadn't seen Emo Qingyun in person, so she still had a lot of doubts about his strength. Now that she saw Emo Qingyun take the initiative to attack Kong Shi, it was enough to prove that he had some strength. When Emo Qingyun attacked, a powerful physical strength and bloodline power erupted from his body. As soon as these two powers erupted, everyone in the 10th district felt an immense pressure. Then, the way they looked at Emo Qingyun changed greatly. Shock, awe, fear, there were all kinds of emotions. In short, at this moment, the way they looked at Emo Qingyun didn't contain the slightest contempt or disdain. Emo Qingyun still had some strength. At least he was qualified to fight with them. What a powerful physical strength and bloodline! Sensing Emo Qingyun's physical strength and bloodline power, Kong Qinglio's expression changed greatly. She looked at Emo Qingyun with a different expression. Immediately after, a look of anticipation appeared in her eyes. Under everyone's surprised gazes, Emo Qingyun's figure flashed and arrived in front of Kong Shi. When he arrived in front of Kong Shi, Emo Qingyun directly punched out. It was simple and fierce. Void Destruction Palm. Facing Emo Qingyun's attack, Kong Shi didn't dare to underestimate it. He immediately punched out with all his strength. Then, their palms collided with each other, and a terrifying shockwave of divine power exploded out. You've made some progress, but it's still not enough. After exchanging blows with Kangxi, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and nodded. Of course, to me, this is only a small improvement. If this is all you have, then our fight is over. As Mo Qingyun spoke, he punched out again. His movements were more firm, fast, and decisive. Facing Mo Qingyun's punch, Kangxi's expression changed greatly. It turned out that he wasn't the only one who had become stronger during this time. Moreover, not only had Mo Qingyun become stronger, but he was also much stronger than Kangxi. Before Kangxi could think further, Mo Qingyun's fist was already close to his face. In great shock, Kangxi didn't dare to hold back and immediately activated the threads of law. Immediately, close to 40,000 threads of law quickly appeared outside his body. The appearance of 40,000 threads of law immediately shocked the surrounding people. They all started talking at once. 40,000 strands of law. Empyrean babe is so strong. I remember that 1 month ago, Kang Sun, ranked 61st on the Emperor ranking, defeated Chen Mengqi with 40,000 law threads. From the looks of it, even if Kangxi's true battle strength is not as good as Kangxuan's, the difference is not too great. With Kangxi's strength, I'm afraid that kid is finished. Everyone discussed spiritedly. Seeing Kangxi activate the threads of law, Mo Qingyun was indifferent. He said, activating the threads of law so quickly, it seems that your improvement is limited. You're at the end of your rope so quickly. As Mo Qingyun spoke, his movements didn't slow down at all. He continued to attack Kangxi. Seeing Mo Qingyun's action, Kang Qinglu was slightly surprised. He said, He doesn't plan to activate the threads of law? He's going to fight with his physical strength? One had to admit that Mo Qingyun's action shocked Kang Qinglu. It seems that I overestimated him. Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, Kang Ying shook his head in disappointment. He said, he's so flustered just because he met Kangxi. He even forgot to activate the threads of law. He's not worthy to fight with me. At this moment, while everyone was discussing, Mo Qingyun and Kangxi were entangled in battle again. However, before long, everyone's expressions were dumbfounded. It was only to see Kangxi, who was entangled with Mo Qingyun, fly out with extreme speed, falling heavily to the ground and unable to get up. Seeing such a scene, everyone's jaws dropped, thinking that they were seeing things. Mo Qingyun's strength was actually so formidable. He actually did it. Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, even with Kang Qingliu's mentality, she also lost some composure at this moment. Mo Qingyun's performance was seriously too different from what she imagined. And Kang Lanyue by the side also opened his eyes wide. He said, his strength actually reached this level. He really hit it deep enough. It seems that he wasn't injured in the slightest when being hunted down by so many god kings. It wasn't just good luck. Seeing Kangxi heavily injured and sent flying, Kang Ying and the others behind were stunned. Kangxi, are you alright? A few of them helped Kangxi up and asked with concern. Hearing Kang Ying and the others' questions, Kangxi shook his head and said, I'm fine. I'm just going to be eliminated. This kid is extremely strong. I underestimated him this time. He condensed over 10,000 threads of law. If you want to defeat him, you have to force him to use his threads of law. Otherwise, you won't be able to defeat him. Kangxi reminded Kang Ying and the others before getting up and leaving the 10th region. He defeated Kangxi without even using his threads of law. He's comparable to the top 50 on the Emperor's ranking. Kang Ying's gaze was cold as he looked at Mo Qingyun, who was not far away. There was a hint of seriousness in his eyes. This was because he felt that the strength they had deduced might not be Mo Qingyun's true strength. At this moment, a beautiful figure hurriedly flew into the square. It's already begun. I hope I'm not too late. When this beautiful figure arrived, she anxiously scanned the square and said, "That guy called Mo Qingyun, he wouldn't have already been eliminated, right? If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have persuaded Ling Long. I would have come to take a look in advance." As the beautiful figure muttered to herself, she also flew to the high platform in the air. Her arrival immediately attracted everyone's attention, and they all looked at her in shock. Isn't that Saintess Ziyen? Why is she here? It looks like she's looking for someone. If Saintess Ziyen is interested in someone, this person must not be simple. I'm interested in this person. Seeing the girl arrive on the high platform, the surrounding people were curious. While everyone was paying attention to Kong Xian, a hint of shock appeared in Kong Xian's beautiful eyes. He defeated Kong Shi? In the 10th region, Kong Xian saw Kong Shi's name and smiled. She turned into light spots and merged with Mo Qingyun's name. This meant that Mo Qingyun had defeated Kong Shi. After being slightly surprised, Kong Xian's gaze fell on Mo Qingyun. Chapter 33-53. A great divine realm defeated a divine king realm expert. This guy is really terrifying. Kong Xian calmed herself down and could not help but sigh. Her beautiful eyes kept rolling as she thought, if he's the one Ling Long is looking for, his cultivation talent is too monstrous. Kong Xian clearly remembered that Ling Long had told her about the past. The place where Ling Long came from was a very low-level continent, only slightly stronger than the initial continent. If Mo Qingyun was the one she was looking for, he must have come from that continent. Born in that low-level continent, he came to the Heaven Realm and even had the strength to defeat a late divine king expert. This growth speed and potential was too terrifying. What was more terrifying was that Mo Qingyun only took 2 to 3 years to reach this stage. Hiss! What a terrifying guy! When Kong Xian thought about it, she sucked in a breath of cold air. Immediately, Kong Xian shook her head and thought, if it's really him, then it's too terrifying. It shouldn't be the same person. He shouldn't be the one Ling Long is looking for. Although he's not the one Ling Long is looking for, with his talent and potential, I still have to pay attention to him. He might be a powerful opponent in the sacred war. Kong Xian muttered to herself as her gaze fell on Mo Qingyun. Seeing Kong Xian's reaction, those who were paying attention to her all looked at Mo Qingyun. Who's that guy? He actually made Saintess Ziyen care so much about him. A late great divine realm kid actually made Saintess Ziyen care about him. How enviable. It's not wrong to make people envious, but it will also bring a lot of trouble. There are many experts in the 10th region. As far as I know, there are several people in the 10th region who are admirers of Saintess Ziyen. That kid spoke arrogantly before, causing everyone to be dissatisfied. Now that Saintess Ziyen cares about him, I'm afraid everyone will be even more dissatisfied. I'm afraid he won't have it easy in the next competition. Everyone was gloating. Everyone's pointing and gloating eyes attracted Mo Qingyun's attention. Then, Mo Qingyun lifted his head and looked at the area where the purple swallow of the void was. Looking around, Mo Qingyun noticed hollow purple swallow and recalled An Chen's report. It would appear that the woman who came to find me while I was in closed-door training was her. Mo Qingyun sized up Kong Xian for a while before retracting his gaze. He did not have much interest in it. Sky purple locks was indeed very beautiful. But in Mo Qingyun's eyes, it was merely very beautiful, nothing more. Mo Qingyun quickly retracted his gaze, causing Sky Purple Swallow to exclaim in surprise. His impression of Mo Qingyun had improved a bit. As far as she knew, there were very few men who could feel the slightest bit of emotion when they saw her face. Such a discovery immediately made Kong Xian's interest in Mo Qingyun become even stronger. Bang! As soon as Mo Qingyun withdrew his gaze from his surroundings, a loud explosion was heard. He saw a young man in a blue robe standing proudly in the middle of the fighting field in the 10th area with his hands behind his back. This person is so strong. Sensing the young man's aura, Emo Qingyun frowned slightly. He felt a sense of threat from the other party. Immediately, Emo Qingyun became interested in this person and could not help but take a few more glances at him. This person looked very young. He looked like a 17 or 18-year-old youth. He was immature and sharp, yet dull and reserved. When Emo Qingyun was paying attention to him, the young man also looked at him. After a few glances, he shifted his gaze. Then, the young man's gaze fell on a woman in green. He said, "Sister Kong Shui, remember your promise. If I defeat you, you will marry me." Whoosh! The young man's words caused an uproar in the square in the 10th area. The impact of this sentence was no less than what Emo Qingyun had said just now. Who is that young man? How dare he speak to Kong Shui like that? He's like a newborn calf that isn't afraid of a tiger. I have some impression of him. He seems to be the 9th young master of the Marquis residence, Yang Luo. Yang Luo? Could it be the 9th young master who has the least sense of presence among the 7 young masters of the Yang clan? That's him. I didn't expect him to be so bold as to confess to Kong Shui in public. It won't be easy to defeat Kong Shui. The last time Kong Shui fought, she defeated Ding Rong in 10 moves and took the 11th place on the princess ranking. Who cares? Anyway, there will be a good show to watch. Everyone was gossiping and whispering. Listening to everyone's conversation, Emo Qingyun's gaze also paused on the green-robed woman for a moment. 36 princesses and 72 princes were not only a symbol of status, but also a sign of talent, potential, and strength. Kong Shui was ranked 11th on the princess ranking. This was enough to prove that she was very strong. It was even possible that she was the strongest person in the 10th area. You, immediately shift your gaze away from Sister Kong Shui. While Emo Qingyun was sizing up Kong Shui, an angry voice came from Yang Luo. Hearing Yang Luo's reprimand, Yang Luo turned his head and saw Yang Luo glaring at him coldly. Seeing Yang Luo's reaction, Emo Qingyun wanted to laugh. This guy is really protective of his food. Emo Qingyun thought for a moment and said, "Don't worry. I'm only paying attention to Miss Kong Shui because I feel that she will become an opponent of mine. She's not the type of woman that I, Emo Qingyun, like." Emo Qingyun's explanation made Yang Luo's expression turn slightly better. His hostility toward Emo Qingyun also decreased. However, while Yang Luo's hostility had decreased, Kong Shui frowned and shouted in a delicate voice, "Shameless boasting bastard, if I were to meet you, I would like to see what ability you have to boast." Seeing that Kong Shui was angry, Yang Luo's hostility toward Emo Qingyun immediately rose to another level. He said, "Sister Kong Shui, leave this guy to me. He dares to be rude to you, I'll definitely beat him until he looks for his teeth on the ground." Emo Qingyun was very depressed. He could see that there was no way to reason with these two guys. Seeing Emo Qingyun being defeated, Kong Ing, who was not far away, laughed and said, "Emo Qingyun, I have to say that your method of attracting a woman's attention is really too low class. Do you think that you can attract Princess Kong Shui's attention by belittling her like this?" It was fine if Kong Ing did not speak. Once he said this, Kong Shui and Yang Luo's hostility toward Emo Qingyun instantly rose to another level. Seeing such a situation, Emo Qingyun simply gave a rare explanation. His gaze swept across the crowd and said, "Forget it, I don't want to waste my breath with you. I'll tell you directly now, in my eyes, the few of you are my stepping stones. If you're not convinced, we'll see in the following competition." When Emo Qingyun's words came out, the 10th area instantly quieted down. Emo Qingyun was really too arrogant. His current words were directly provoking Kong Ing and Kong Shui. Under Void Xian's expectant gaze, Emo Qingyun walked to the center of the stage. His gaze falling on void Xing Kong Xing's body was as huge as a mountain, giving off a powerful pressure. Peak Divine King Realm. Sensing Kong Xing's aura, Emo Qingyun frowned and thought, although his aura is very strong, his battle strength is far from Yin Wujio's. With my current strength, I can fight Yin Wujiu again even without using the sealed gate. It shouldn't be difficult for me to deal with Kong Xing. After assessing Kong Xing's strength, Emo Qingyun knew how to fight him. Looking at Emo Qingyun and Kong Shui in the center of the stage, Kong Ying showed a gloating smile and said, I didn't expect his opponent to be Kong Xing this time. It seems like his luck has come to an end. Kong Shui, Kong Shang, Yang Luo, take a guess. How many rounds do you think he can last? Hearing Kong Ying's question, Kong Shui and the others' expressions changed and they seemed to be pondering. Yang Luo thought for a moment and answered first, I know Kong Xing's strength. Even if he encounters an ordinary divine emperor, he can fight for dozens of rounds. He only needs 3 moves to deal with this kid. What a pity. If he's defeated by Kong Xing, I won't have a chance to attack him. Kong Shui's pretty face was cold as she said, although this guy is very arrogant, he still has some strength. It shouldn't be difficult for him to last 10 moves. As soon as Kong Shui finished speaking, Kong Shang shook her head and said, Kong Xing might have a 50-50 chance of winning against him. When he fought Kong Shi just now, he didn't even use half of his strength. He hit it very well. I hope Kong Xing can force him to his limit. Kong Shang's words surprised Kong Ying and the others. Only then did they remember this key point. That's right. When Emo Qingyun defeated Kong Shi just now, he didn't even use the threads of law. This was an incredible detail. The key to a divine realm powerhouse's strength was the strength of the threads of law. Emo Qingyun could defeat Kong Shi without using the threads of law. If he used the threads of law, it would be even more amazing. Even if Emo Qingyun's cultivation was low, the number of threads of law he condensed was small. But once he activated them, the increase in his battle strength would be very terrifying. When they thought of this, some dread emerged in their eyes as they looked at Emo Qingyun. My cultivation is higher than yours. I'll give you a chance to attack first. After sizing up Emo Qingyun a few times, Kong Xing made an inviting gesture. In the face of Kong Xing's politeness, Emo Qingyun didn't stand on ceremony and immediately attacked. When Emo Qingyun made his move, the aura he exuded immediately became sharp and fierce. Strands of law with sharp auras erupted from his body. Although he was very confident in his own strength, it didn't reach the point of arrogance. Kong Xing wasn't Kong Shi. If he didn't activate the threads of law, he would be at a disadvantage in a head-on confrontation. Soon, 5,000 huge threads of law condensed outside Emo Qingyun's body. Only 5,000 threads. It doesn't seem like much. People with peak Great Divine Realm cultivation generally condense around 8,000 threads, right? If this is his limit, his talent is very ordinary. Although the number of threads of law isn't many, his threads of law seem to be somewhat different from others. The spectators all around began to make comments. Compared to the eyesight of these juniors, Kong Qinglu and the others' eyesight was undoubtedly much more sinister. This kid's threads of law seem to have undergone some mutation. It's far from what ordinary people can compare to. Observing Emo Qingyun's threads of law, Kong Qinglu revealed a look of surprise and said in a deep voice, If my feeling isn't wrong, the power of his 1 threads of law is comparable to 5 ordinary threads. Truly monstrous. 1 thread comparable to 5 threads? Hearing Kong Qinglio's words, the expressions of the elders sitting beside her changed because of this. If it was really as Kong Qinglu said, Emo Qingyun was really too monstrous. If that's the case, the power of his threads of law is comparable to a mid-divine king. Kong Lanjue thought and began to analyze Emo Qingyun's strength. The threads of law are comparable to a mid-divine king. Coupled with his physical battle prowess, The outcome of his battle with Kong Xing seems to be a little hard to say. Hearing Kong Lanyue's analysis, the elders all nodded, but they also felt some anticipation. Chapter 3355. Zone 10 Competition Arena. Divine Lightning Dragon Transformation Wave. Emo Qingyun's figure flickered as he appeared in front of Void Xing and punched out. As Emo Qingyun punched out, a berserk divine power frantically gathered on his fist. Roar! A resounding dragon roar rang out. Then, a lightning dragon with a berserk aura flew out from Emo Qingyun's fist. As the lightning dragon flew out, 5,000 strands of law flew out and merged with it. As the strands of law merged, the lightning dragon's aura began to rapidly rise. Not bad. You have the strength of an imperial sun, but it's still not enough to defeat me. Seeing the lightning dragon rapidly approaching, Void Xing wasn't afraid at all and casually sent out a palm. Although Void Xing's palm seemed casual, it was extraordinary. The aura it erupted with was quite shocking. At the same time, a powerful fluctuation of divine power erupted from Void Xing's palm. Not only that, but as Void Xing waved his palm, 45,000 strands of law appeared. 45,000 strands of law were 5 times more than Emo Qingyun's demonic god heaven punishment palm. The powerful divine power merged with the strands of law, causing the sky to change color and causing a surge of wind and lightning. Soon, the divine power and the strands of law condensed into a giant axe. Slash! Void Xing coldly snorted and chopped down. Following Void Xing's movement, the giant axe image in the air chopped down at the lightning dragon. Roar! Facing the attack of the giant axe, the lightning dragon didn't retreat in the slightest. Instead, it roared and charged forward. Soon after, everyone saw the giant axe and the lightning dragon crazily collide. Boom! 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 The giant axe and the lightning dragon clashed several times in a row. Each time, the shock waves shook the heavens and earth, creating a terrifying storm of divine power. Seeing this scene, the surrounding people were shocked. They were somewhat surprised by Emo Qingyun's strength. Although Emo Qingyun had displayed great strength when he defeated Kong Shi, Void Xing's battle had been fierce. It wasn't as intense as this one, and the commotion wasn't as great. This guy is really a monster. Looking at Emo Qingyun's performance, Kong Xian's beautiful eyes trembled, and her eyes were filled with shock. While Kong Xian was surprised, she unconsciously clenched her fists and said, "Although this guy is strong, his foundation is still a little weak. I'm afraid he's no match for Kong Xing. If he can condense 10,000 strands of law, he should be able to fight Void Xing or even defeat him." If Kong Xian could see this, so could Kong Qinglu. Watching the battle between Emo Qingyun and Kong Xing, Kong Qinglu frowned and said, "Based on the current situation, if Emo Qingyun doesn't have any other trump cards, then I'm afraid his battle with Kong Xing is over. In at most 3 more attacks, Emo Qingyun's lightning dragon will be destroyed by Skywalker's giant axe." When Kong Lanyue heard this, he frowned and nodded. Although Emo Qingyun's previous performance had already exceeded her expectations, there was still a big gap between him and Kong Xing. Kong Lanyue thought for a moment and said, "With my understanding of him, since he wants to participate in the qualification battle, he must have the confidence to avoid a spot. Therefore, his true battle strength is definitely not limited to this. He must have an even stronger trump card." Kong Qinglu didn't speak, but a look of anticipation appeared in her eyes. She was actually very curious about this mysterious youth. Otherwise, she wouldn't have excluded everyone and made an exception to allow Emo Qingyun to participate. On the stage, seeing Emo Qingyun's lightning dragon about to be destroyed by his attack, Kong Xing revealed a proud expression and said, "Emo Qingyun, if you don't have any other trump cards, then don't make a final struggle. With the strength you've displayed so far, you were extremely lucky to be able to defeat Kong Xing. Hearing Kong Xing's words, Mo Qingyun faintly smiled and said, "I didn't expect you to be so anxious. That was just a warm-up. I haven't even used my strength yet." "You're a bit stronger than Kong Xing. You lasted until my warm-up ended. I hope that when I use my strength, you can last a bit longer." As Mo Qingyun spoke, another 3,000 threads of law appeared in the air above him. Seeing the 3,000 threads of law appear, the surrounding people were startled. Their gazes towards Mo Qingyun greatly changed. "I didn't expect him to hide 3,000 threads of law. It seems that it will be difficult for Kong Xing to defeat him. With his peak great divinity realm cultivation, condensing 8,000 threads of law can be considered his limit. It seems that under Kong Xing's strong suppression, he has been forced to use his trump card." Everyone discussed. Listening to the conversations around her, Kong Xian's beautiful eyes narrowed, and a trace of surprise appeared in her eyes. "This guy actually has a trump card. I wonder if Kong Xing has a trump card. If Kong Xing doesn't have a trump card, then with his current combat strength, he can fight Kong Xing," Kong Xian muttered to herself. She revealed an expectant expression as she watched Mo Qingyun and Kong Xing fight. He really did have a trump card. Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, Kong Qinglu revealed a surprised expression. She was somewhat surprised by Mo Qingyun's performance. On the other hand, Kong Lanyue was indifferent, as if he had already expected Mo Qingyun to be like this. Under everyone's shocked gazes, Mo Qingyun's hands rapidly formed a series of hand seals. Fuse. Under Mo Qingyun's control, 3,000 threads of law quickly fused into Thunder Dragon. Roar. After fusing with another 3,000 threads of law, Thunder Dragon immediately roared and the aura it emitted skyrocketed. Then, Thunder Dragon ignored the Divine Force Axe's attack. How can this be? Seeing that the Divine Force Axe's all-out attack was unable to cause any damage to Thunder Dragon, Kong Xing panicked. If this was the case, what else could he use to fight Mo Qingyun? Taisher Dragonsaur Pegasus method. While Kong Xing was panicking, Mo Qingyun's figure flashed. He rode the 8-winged Pegasus and attacked Kong Xing. Mo Qingyun's figure flickered, and he appeared in front of Kong Xing. "It'll take too long to determine a result if we compete in combat arts and divine force. Let's fight head-on." As soon as Mo Qingyun's words fell, he punched out with a terrifying physical strength. In addition, a powerful bloodline power also erupted from Mo Qingyun's body and suppressed Kong Xing's bloodline. "This guy's bloodline is actually stronger than mine. How can this be?" Sensing Mo Qingyun's bloodline suppression, Kong Xing's expression shook and his eyes filled with shock. From what he knew, the bloodline grades of the sacred clans of the Diablo Heavens seemed to be on the same level. But now, Mo Qingyun was activating his bloodline power. It was clearly suppressing him. One had to admit that this situation was too strange. Chapter 3356. Before Kong Xing could recover, Mo Qingyun's fist arrived in front of him. Facing Mo Qingyun's fist, Kong Xing didn't dare to be careless. He immediately raised his fist to block. Bang! The two fists collided with a loud bang, creating a shockwave of divine power. Under the impact of Anyway's force, Mo Qingyun was sent flying, but Xing's body swayed. From this exchange, it could be seen that Kong Xing had the upper hand. Mo Qingyun didn't get the upper hand. It looks like this Mo Qingyun isn't much. He's no match for Kong Xing, that's right. He took the initiative to attack, but Kong Xing easily sent him flying. It looks like he's just bluffing. He's jumping up and down like a clown. Seeing Mo Qingyun sent flying, the crowd made fun of him with disdain. Listening to the discussions of the people around, Kong Xian snorted in his heart. He looked at them with disdain and thought, a group of people without eyesight. They only see things on the surface. After ridiculing the crowd, Kong Xian's attention fell on Emo Qingyun again. Emo Qingyun's figure flickered, and he once again launched an attack at Empty Xing. Seeing Emo Qingyun's action, Kong Qinglu frowned. It looks like the result of this match is out. Kong Londue nodded. The 10th area, on the stage. Arriving in front of Kong Xing again, Emo Qingyun sent out dozens of punches in a row, each one more ferocious than the last. Facing Emo Qingyun's storm-like attacks, Kong Xing managed to block them all. However, if one looked closely, they would find that he was finding it more and more strenuous. Moreover, the shape of his arm was beginning to change. The change in his arm was due to his bone fracture. When blocking Emo Qingyun's attacks, it had cracked and broken. Nice. Come again. This primitive exchange of blows caused Emo Qingyun's fighting spirit to surge. His fighting spirit soared to the extreme. Immediately after, his figure flashed as he attacked Kong Xing once more. Facing Emo Qingyun's second attack, Void Xing no longer faced him head-on and retreated with a bitter expression. He couldn't fight Emo Qingyun head-on anymore, or his arms would be crippled. Empty Xing's retreat immediately caused everyone to be shocked, because their eyes were playing tricks on them. From the start of the battle until now, he had not been at a disadvantage. But now, facing Emo Qingyun's attack, he actually chose to retreat. This was simply too bizarre. What's going on? Am I seeing things? Skybearer actually retreated? That seems to be the case. Could it be that Skywalker is afraid? You don't dare to fight with Emo Qingyun again? It's indeed a little strange. Look at Kongxing's arms, they seem to have suffered heavy injuries. Could it be that Kongxing was defeated in the battle just now? Everyone whispered to each other, and their faces were filled with shock. Who would have thought that with Void Xing's strength, he would still be defeated? Chapter 33:57. Emo Qingyun's disdain made Kong Ing very unhappy. His mood was no longer as calm as before. Seeing Emo Qingyun closing his eyes and adjusting his breath, he suppressed the anger in his heart and thought to himself, I'll let you be proud first. Now that you've offended so many people, you'll suffer later. Kong Ing glanced coldly at Emo Qingyun, then sat down cross-legged and waited for his match. Next, Kong Ing, Kong Shui, Yang Luo, and Kong Shang went up one after another to spar. The result was no exception. They all crushed their opponents in a domineering manner. Compared to Emo Qingyun's performance, the strength they displayed was truly domineering. However, although Emo Qingyun's performance was not as good as theirs, the attention he received was no less than theirs. The seeded candidates of the 10th area are Kong Ing, Kong Shui, Kong Shang, Yang Luo, and Emo Qingyun. Can Emo Qingyun be counted? Although Emo Qingyun's strength is not as good as theirs, he can defeat Kong Xing. His strength cannot be underestimated. This Emo Qingyun is very mysterious. Perhaps he has some trump cards. It's not too much to count him as a seeded candidate. Everyone whispered to each other. While everyone was whispering, Kong Xian looked at the people of the 10th area and thought, after 2 rounds of elimination, there are less than 30 people left in the 10th area. Emo Qingyun's next battle will probably not be easy. It's very likely that he will encounter Kong Shang and the others. While Kong Xian was thinking, Emo Qingyun's name flew out from the wooden sign above the 10th area. The name that flew out at the same time was one of the seeded candidates, Kong Shang. Kong Shang, ranked 19th on the princess ranking, was slightly stronger than Kong Xing. It's actually Kong Shang. Emo Qingyun's battle will probably be a little troublesome. Seeing that Emo Qingyun's opponent was Kong Shang, Kong Qinglio's beautiful eyes trembled and a trace of shock appeared in them. She did not know the situation of the people on the prince ranking. However, he had a detailed understanding of the people on the Empress female role. Kong Londue nodded and said, Kong Shang has always kept a low profile. Although she is currently ranked 19th, if she challenges others, her ranking may rise by a few places. It is even possible for her to reach the top 10. While Azure Sky and Green Willow were talking, Mo Qingyun and Lu Ming stood up and walked towards the center of the arena. Seeing that Kong Shang was going to fight, Kong Ying sneered proudly and said, Mo Qingyun, when you lose to my cousin Kong Shang, I won't think that you admitted defeat on purpose. However, the challenge I issued to you will not be put aside just because you lost. I will look for you again after the qualification battle ends. Hearing Kong Ying's words, Yang Luo immediately nodded. He glared at Mo Qingyun and said coldly, Me too. When the qualification battle is over, I will also challenge you. Hearing their words, Mo Qingyun sneered and glanced at them disdainfully. You two only know how to blabber. If you don't want to fight me, then shut up. No one will think you're mute if you don't speak. If you want to fight me, then don't get eliminated early. Persevere until you meet me. When Mo Qingyun said this, Kong Ying, Kong Shui, Yang Luo and the others couldn't help but be stunned. Judging from Mo Qingyun's attitude, he seemed to have a lot of confidence in fighting Kong Shang. After a brief moment of surprise, Kong Ying and the others sneered, taking pleasure in the others' misfortune. In their opinion, Mo Qingyun's words would undoubtedly infuriate Kong Shang. Sure enough, Kong Shang's pretty face darkened when she heard Mo Qingyun's words. She shouted, shameless boasting. I'd like to see what kind of qualifications you have to be so arrogant. Let's do it. Mo Qingyun didn't say much to Kong Shang and directly gestured for her to attack. In the current situation, it was meaningless to say anything more. The result would be clear once the battle started. Mo Qingyun's straightforwardness somewhat exceeded Kong Shang's expectations, so she didn't waste her breath on Mo Qingyun. Immediately after, Kong Shang's arm shook and a long whip appeared in her hand. As soon as the long whip was summoned, divine power surged and a terrifying aura erupted from it. At the same time, threads of nomological laws appeared around Kong Shang's body. 50,000. Mo Qingyun glanced at Kong Shang roughly and knew the number of threads of nomological laws. The number of threads of nomological laws condensed by Kong Shang was actually 5,000 more than Kong Xing. From this, it could be seen that Kong Shang was very strong. 1,000 Moon Falling Shadow. After summoning the long whip, Kong Shang raised her right arm and quickly brandished the long whip. The long whip danced in the air, creating afterimages as it lashed out one whip shadow after another. As the whip moved, 50,000 threads of nomological laws merged into it and increased its power. Taisher Soaring Dragon Pegasus Art. Facing the onslaught of whip shadows, Mo Qingyun didn't dare to be careless and his figure flashed quickly. At this moment, Mo Qingyun was riding on the 8-winged divine power Pegasus, and his movement speed was raised to the extreme. It felt as if Mo Qingyun was in a rainforest of bullets, narrowly avoiding the whip shadows again and again. Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, Kong Shang chuckled and a trace of disdain appeared in her eyes. Although your physical body is strong, it has no effect on me. Under the attack of my mystic moon shadow whip, don't even think about getting close to me. Kong Shang felt that the reason Kong Xing had been defeated just now was because Mo Qingyun had gotten close to him. Now that Mo Qingyun couldn't get close to her, she could definitely exhaust Mo Qingyun. Not necessarily. Mo Qingyun chuckled and didn't refute Kong Shang's words. Mo Qingyun responded and urged the threads of nomological laws to increase his battle strength. At the same time, Mo Qingyun's Amethyst Thunder Dragon body and Taichu Darkness Fortune bloodline were also activated. Under the suppression of his physique and bloodline power, Kong Shang's attacks were clearly weakened. What a domineering physique, what a powerful bloodline! Sensing the suppression of her physique and bloodline, Kong Shang's pretty face trembled and a trace of shock appeared in her eyes. At this moment, she finally understood what kind of pressure Kong Xing was enduring in close combat with Mo Qingyun. No matter how strong your physique is or how high the grade of your bloodline is, it's still the same if you can't get close. After calming the shock in her heart, Kong Shang's pretty face turned cold and her attacks became even fiercer. As Kong Shang's attacks intensified, Mo Qingyun's situation became even worse. At this moment, Kong Shang's whip attacks were like a protective barrier that protected her in the center. It wasn't easy for Mo Qingyun to break through the whip shadow barrier and attack Kong Shang. Not only that, but under Kong Shang's powerful attacks, the distance between Mo Qingyun and her was constantly increasing. As a result, the situation became more and more unfavorable for Mo Qingyun. Chapter 33:58. Mo Qingyun had no other means, so his battle with Kong Shang was over. Watermark advertisement test. Watermark advertisement test. Even if he has a trump card, I don't think he can win. Trump cards can't be casually used. Although it's a bit of a pity, with Mo Qingyun's cultivation, it's already extremely difficult for him to achieve this. Everyone chatted, some taking pleasure in others' misfortune, some feeling pity. When Kong Xian saw Mo Qingyun being suppressed, she revealed a smug expression and smiled. "Who told you to be so arrogant? Now you've suffered a loss. Serves you right." Kong Xian muttered to herself. Her expression was tense, and there was no lack of worry in her eyes. At the same time, she also felt a sense of pity. She thought to herself, although this guy is arrogant, his talent is truly monstrous. If they were at the same level, I'm afraid no one would be able to fight him. What a pity. If only he was the person Ling Long was looking for. With his talent and potential, the clan shouldn't stop him and Ling Long, Kong Xian muttered to herself. Kong Xian muttered to herself. She then revealed a regretful expression and unconsciously shook her head. In her eyes, Mo Qingyun's current performance was far too different from what Ling Long had described. It looks like he'll have to stop here. Watching Mo Qingyun and Kong Xian fight, Kong Qinglu sighed. Even if he can defeat Kong Shang, he won't have the slightest chance of winning against Kong Shui and the others. Hearing Kong Qinglio's words, Kong Lanyue's expression tensed and he didn't say anything. Although she hoped that Mo Qingyun still had a trump card, it wasn't something that could be displayed. At this moment, under everyone's gazes, Mo Qingyun's speed suddenly increased. The divine power Pegasus that Mo Qingyun sat on suddenly had an additional pair of wings. Mo Qingyun's divine power comprehension seemed to have made a breakthrough. Immediately, Mo Qingyun faced Kong Shang's attack with much more ease. Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, Kong Qinglu and the others were shocked, and their eyes were filled with shock. However, before they could recover from their shock, they saw that Mo Qingyun had suddenly increased the number of threads of law by another 2,000. 10,000. The number of law threads that Mo Qingyun urged reached the level of 10,000. 10,000 nomological threads. Azure Willow's eyes were wide open. She was shocked by this scene and couldn't recover for a long time. She didn't expect that Mo Qingyun would still have a trump card at this point. Kong Lanyue's body trembled as he suddenly thought of something and exclaimed, could it be that Mo Qingyun kept dodging just now in order to borrow Kong Shang's strength to help him break through his comprehension of his divine ability? Hearing Kong Lanyue's words, Kong Qinglio's pretty face tightened. After a moment of silence, she solemnly said, "That's very likely the case. I didn't think he would use Kong Shang to sharpen his blade. We really underestimated him. This guy, he was still hiding a trump card." Seeing the situation between Mo Qingyun and Kong Shang begin to tilt little by little, Kong Xian's pretty face was filled with shock. She really didn't expect that at this point, Mo Qingyun would still be able to make a comeback. In the 10th area, on the arena, with the breakthrough of the Grand Beginning Dragon's soaring horse transformation art and the addition of 2,000 law threads, Mo Qingyun's battle prowess instantly doubled. After dodging Kong Shang's attack again, Mo Qingyun faintly smiled and said, Who told you that I can't defeat you if I don't fight in close combat? I'll tell you right now, even if I fight you in close combat, I can still crush you. Dark demon dragon heaven swallowing roar. As Emo Qingyun's words fell, his hands danced and divine power madly gathered between his palms. Soon, a huge black dragon was formed, exuding a monstrous dragon might. Roar. The dragon roared and its figure flashed, pouncing towards Kong Shang. In the face of the dragon's attack, Kong Shang snorted softly and swung the whip in her hand. Bang! Before the whip could reach the dragon, it was swatted away by the dragon's claws, and its radiance instantly dimmed a little. Seeing that her all-out attack was easily defeated by Emo Qingyun, Kong Shang's expression instantly tensed up. With Emo Qingyun's current strength, he was already a threat to her. It won't be that easy to defeat me. Kong Shang snorted softly and raised her left hand. Another whip appeared in her hand. The two whips quickly merged into one after she took them out. At this moment, the color of the two whips changed drastically. Not only that, but the two whips in Kong Shang's hand now looked like two serpents entwined together. I'll let you see the power of the Icefire Twin Serpent's whip. After merging the two whips, Kong Shang quickly brandished it and lashed it towards Emo Qingyun. Seeing Kong Shang's attack, Emo Qingyun's expression turned solemn. After merging the two whips, their power has increased by at least 30%. It seems that I'll have to use some of my strength. With this thought in mind, Emo Qingyun no longer hesitated and activated another 2,000 threads of law. Following that, the aura emitted by Emo Qingyun immediately rose to another level. Seeing Emo Qingyun's performance, the surrounding people were stunned. They felt that their brains weren't enough to process it. How is this possible? Seeing Emo Qingyun's threads of law, Kong Shang was the first to be stunned. For a moment she forgot to attack. Emo Qingyun's current performance had exceeded her understanding. Looking at the 12,000 threads of law, Kong Xian was also dumbfounded. She covered her mouth with her hand and said, the number of threads of law he condensed has actually reached 12,000. This fellow is too monstrous. More importantly, his threads of law are so thick. Kong Xian spat, her pretty face turning red. What was she thinking? 12,000 threads. Seeing Emo Qingyun activate the threads of law, Kong Qinglu frowned and said in alarm, Lan Yue, do you know what's going on with the threads of law he condenses? I don't know. Kong Lan Yue shook his head and said, when we met him before, he had just broken through to the great divinity realm. He had condensed at most several thousand threads of law. I didn't think that in a short period of time, he would reach this step. I just don't know if this is his limit. After hearing Kong Lanyue's answer, Kong Qinglu took a deep breath and said, I really didn't expect him to have so many cards hidden up his sleeve. It looks like there's no suspense in this match. Bang! Just as Kong Qinglu finished speaking, Kong Shang was sent flying by Emo Qingyun. After sending Kong Shang flying, Emo Qingyun didn't say any polite words. He simply cupped his hands and said, Thank you for letting me win. Looking at Emo Qingyun in front of her, Kong Shang had a complex look in her eyes. She was stunned for a moment before responding. I have no complaints about losing to you, but once my cultivation drags down, I will challenge you again. After Kong Shang finished speaking, she didn't wait for Emo Qingyun to answer before turning and leaving. Looking at Kong Shang's back, Emo Qingyun was left speechless, his mood a little complicated. If Kong Shang's cultivation had broken through, wouldn't that mean she had reached the God Emperor realm? Emo Qingyun shook his head and discarded these distracting thoughts before returning to the side to recover. Chapter 3359. He's a troublesome opponent. Looking at Emo Qingyun, who was resting in the distance, Kong Shue's pretty face was solemn as she commented. Kong Shue's words fell into Kong Ying and Yang Luo's ears, causing their faces to instantly turn ugly. They originally thought that Emo Qingyun would definitely lose against Kong Shang. They didn't expect him to have hidden a trump card and actually counterattack. This was too much of a slap in the face for the two of them. Before Yang Luo could vent his displeasure, his name flew out from the wooden token. It was his turn to fight. Seeing that it was his turn, Yang Luo's figure flashed and arrived at the center of the arena. At this moment, he was like a ferocious tiger, glaring fiercely at his opponent. Looking at his posture, it seemed like he wanted to vent his anger on his next opponent. Facing the aggressive Yang Luo, his opponent's expression was tense and his face was filled with panic. Yang Luo's aura was too terrifying. I admit defeat. After taking a few glances at Yang Luo's opponent directly admitted defeat. If it had been before, Yang Luo would have been in a good mood when his opponent admitted defeat. But now, his heart was filled with intense anger, and he needed to find someone to vent it on. In the end, his opponent directly admitted defeat. How could he endure this? "You're not allowed to admit defeat," Yang Luo shouted angrily when he heard his opponent's words. He wanted to continue. Seeing Yang Luo's actions, the elder in charge of the competition shouted, "Yang Luo, don't be rude." Yang Luo calmed down a lot after being reprimanded by the elder. He unwillingly retreated to the side. After Yang Luo retreated to the side, he glared coldly at Mo Qingyun. Kong Ying sneered when he saw Yang Luo's actions. "Yang Luo, don't be anxious. With the strength he just displayed, we will encounter him sooner or later. There will be plenty of opportunities to teach him a lesson." Yang Luo nodded when he heard Kong Ying's words. What Kong Ying said was right. Apart from him, Kong Shui, and Kong Ying, no one else could fight against Mo Qingyun. As Kong Ying and Kong Shui spoke, the competition continued and a few more people were eliminated. Shortly after, Kong Ying and Kong Shui went up one after another and ended their battles within 10 moves. After a short while, there were only 8 people left in the 10th area. These 8 people were Mo Qingyun, Yang Luo, Kong Shui, Kong Xing, Zhang Yu, Chen Shi, Kong Ji, and Fan Rou. Among them, Zhang Yu, Chen Shi, Kong Ji, and Fan Rou were all late Divine King Realm experts. The reason why the 4 of them were able to advance all the way was mainly due to their good luck. At this moment, 2 more names flew out from the wooden plaque. They were Mo Qingyun and Kong Ying. Seeing Mo Qingyun and Kong Ying's names appear, Zhang Yu, Chen Shi, Kong Ji, and Fan Rou's expressions visibly relaxed. From their point of view, if Mo Qingyun and Kong Ying were to meet, one of them would be able to make it to the next round. If Mo Qingyun and the others fought until both sides were injured, they might be able to take advantage of the situation. "We've finally met." Kong Ying smiled faintly when he saw Mo Qingyun. He said, "I originally thought that I wouldn't have a chance to fight you. I didn't expect you to be able to make it. That's good too. Let me teach you a lesson personally. Only then can I vent my anger." Mo Qingyun didn't take Kong Ying's words seriously. He said, "I've seen people who ask for a beating, but I've never seen someone like you. Since you've persisted until now and insisted that I beat you up, I'll kindly fulfill your wish." Kong Ying's face immediately turned ashen when he heard Mo Qingyun's words. He was even angrier inside. Mo Qingyun was too arrogant. "You're pretty good with your mouth, but unfortunately, you're not strong enough," Kong Ying snorted coldly. He put on an arrogant expression and said, "You probably don't know that the higher one's rank is, the greater the difference in strength. I'm different from Kong Xing and the others." Mo Qingyun sneered when he heard Kong Ying's words. He asked, "Excuse me, what's your rank on the Emperor's ranking?" 17. Kong Ying replied arrogantly. Haha, as soon as Kong Ying finished speaking, Mo Qingyun laughed out loud. His laughter was full of mockery. He said, "So you're only 17. You're bragging so much that I thought you were first. However, you made it sound like you're 7th. That's very impressive. If this is a bragging contest, I'm really no match for you." Mo Qingyun's mockery made Kong Ying's face turn ashen. His veins were bulging. Mo Qingyun was too shameless. Could he beat Mo Qingyun in bragging? Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, the onlookers suddenly became excited. This guy is really thick-skinned. When it comes to bragging, Kong Ing is no match for him. I remember that when he went on the stage, he said that he would be first. He's indeed bragging more than Kong Ing. I didn't expect him to be so humble. He actually gave Kong Ing the #1 bragging title. Soon, we'll know who's bragging. Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, everyone teased. Listening to the words of the people around, Kong Zi glared at them and said, "Really shameless. You obviously like to brag, but you turn around and talk about others." Looking at Mo Qingyun in the middle of the competition venue, Kong Qinglu and the others also shook their heads and smiled bitterly. They felt very shameless in their hearts. After ridiculing Kong Ing a few words, Mo Qingyun no longer talked nonsense and immediately urged the law thread. "Since you have some ability, I'll use 10% of my strength to deal with you." Soon, 15,000 law threads condensed around Mo Qingyun. Originally, when they heard Mo Qingyun's words, everyone sighed and was about to tease him. But when everyone saw the law threads, they were all stunned and no longer had the mood to make fun of Mo Qingyun. 15,000 strands of the laws? Is this guy really a great deity? Even an ordinary early heavenly deity powerhouse wouldn't have as many law threads as him, right? This guy is too monstrous. He's simply breaking the balance of cultivation. That's not the key. The key is that he only used 10% of his strength? If he used his full strength, how strong would he be? Do you really believe his words? When this guy brags, he probably can't even control himself. Looking at Mo Qingyun's performance, everyone bitterly smiled. Although Mo Qingyun was very pretentious, they couldn't help but admit that Mo Qingyun's talent was terrifying. "Monster!" Kong Xian snorted, her tone not calm at all. In a short period of time, Mo Qingyun had shocked her again and again until she found it hard to calm down. It wasn't just Kong Xian who was like this. Kong Qinglu also revealed a look of shock, her eyes wide open. Mo Qingyun still had strength left over. Immediately, Kong Qinglu looked at Kong Lanyue, wanting him to give her an explanation. Under Kong Qingliu's gaze, Kong Lanyue bitterly smiled and shook his head. She also didn't know. Chapter 3360. In the 10th zone. 15,000 threads. Kong Ying's pupils shrank as he looked at Mo Qingyun's nomological threads. His eyes were filled with shock. He would never have thought that Mo Qingyun still had some tricks up his sleeve. While Kong Ying was shocked, he also started calculating in his mind. One of his nomological threads is equivalent to 5 of mine. If he has 15,000 nomological threads, it's equivalent to 75,000 of mine. The number of law threads I have condensed is only 80,000. It will be very difficult to defeat him. Kong Ying's expression turned solemn as he calculated in his heart. He originally thought that with the number of nomological threads he had, he would be able to gain a great advantage. But the result? In terms of the number of nomological threads he had condensed, his advantage was negligible. He had almost been overtaken by Mo Qingyun. This result was very different from what he had imagined. Divine Thunder Dragon Wave. While Kong Ying was still in shock, Mo Qingyun took the lead and blasted a palm at him. Surging divine power gathered madly and turned into a huge lightning dragon that exuded a monstrous dragon's might. After the lightning dragon was condensed, 15,000 nomological threads rapidly merged into it, increasing its power and combat strength. Roar! The lightning dragon roared and swung its tail, pouncing towards Kong Ying. As the lightning dragon surged, the sky suddenly changed color as if it was about to collapse. The rolling thunderclouds pressed down together with the lightning dragon, turning the battle stage into a lightning purgatory. Chi chi chi. Kong Ying did not dare to be careless in the face of the lightning dragon's attack. he immediately attacked with all his might. The divine power of a peak divine king immediately erupted from Kong Ying's body, wreaking havoc in all directions. Under the impact of this divine power, a storm instantly formed in the surroundings, attacking the thunderclouds that enveloped him. Great chaotic godfiend claw. Kong Ying activated the divine power in his body, bent his body slightly, and raised his hand to grab at the void. As Kong Ying waved his arm, a huge divine power eagle shadow rapidly formed outside his body. The giant eagle shadow formed, and close to 80,000 law threads merged into it. Immediately, the giant eagle shadow flapped its wings, as if it was about to soar into the sky. As the giant eagle spread its wings, its claws moved quickly, creating a series of sharp claw shadows. Bang bang bang, the claw shadow struck the lightning dragon, causing a series of loud bangs and creating a storm of divine power. Soon after, the giant eagle shadow and the dragon shadow were locked in a stalemate, crazily killing each other in the air. "You're just SOSO. Mo Qingyun chuckled when he saw Kong Ying's battle prowess and move. Immediately after, Mo Qingyun stepped on the 10-winged Pegasus and charged towards Kong Ying. Seeing Mo Qingyun's action, Kong Ying's expression trembled, and a trace of panic appeared in his eyes. Although he had not experienced how strong Mo Qingyun's physique was, he had seen it clearly just now. In terms of physical strength alone, ordinary divine weapons would not be able to hurt him. Even if an ordinary divine king weapon could hurt Mo Qingyun, the damage would be limited. In this way, he would definitely be at a disadvantage if he confronted Mo Qingyun head-on. Thinking of this, Kong Ying did not dare to hesitate and immediately dodged, pulling away from Mo Qingyun. Seeing Kong Ying's action, the surrounding onlookers were shocked. Did I see it wrong? Kong Ying chose to retreat? What else can he do but retreat? Although Kong Ying is very strong, his physique is far inferior to Mo Qingyun's. He will be at a disadvantage if he confronts him head-on. But Kong Ying's momentum will be weakened if he retreats. It will be difficult for him to defeat Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun is really monstrous. I really can't believe that he is a late great god. Everyone exclaimed. While everyone was exclaiming, Mo Qingyun's figure flashed a few times and caught up with Kong Ying. He said, "Didn't you want to stand up for Kong Bing and teach me a lesson? Why are you avoiding me now? Could it be that I was right? You only know how to instigate others to attack, but you are actually a coward? You don't even dare to fight me. You didn't buy your 17th place on the prince list with money, did you? How much did you bribe others to buy it?" As the saying went, don't hit people in the face. Mo Qingyun's series of questions could be said to be extremely harsh. If he did not fight Mo Qingyun head-on, others might really think that he bought his 17th place on the prince list. Although this possibility was very small, gossip was a fearful thing. Although everyone knew that some things were fake, they would still add oil and vinegar to the fire to promote it. Over time, the fake would become the real thing. Mo Qingyun, don't be so arrogant. Do you really think I am afraid of you? Kong Ying roared angrily. His face was as black as ink, but he did not attack impulsively. Hearing Kong Ying's words and seeing his actions, Mo Qingyun curled his lips in disdain and said, "If you are not afraid of me, come and fight me." As Mo Qingyun spoke, his attacks did not decrease and he continued to chase after Kong Ying. Mo Qingyun's figure flashed and finally caught up with Kong Ying. He threw a punch at him. Facing Mo Qingyun's punch, Kong Ying's expression trembled and a trace of panic flashed in his eyes. He could not escape. Although he had spoken ruthlessly just now, he was still unwilling to fight Mo Qingyun head-on in his heart. But looking at the current situation, even if he wanted to dodge, he had no other way. Helpless, Kong Ying could only give up on escaping and choose to fight Mo Qingyun head-on. Ha! Kong Ying roared angrily and swung his fist to block Mo Qingyun's punch. Soon, the two fists collided and formed a short stalemate. Bang! A loud sound was heard. After a short stalemate between the two fists, everyone saw Kong Ying's body fly backward at an extremely fast speed. Crack, crack, crack as Kong Ying was sent flying, the crisp sound of bones cracking could be heard from his fist. If nothing unexpected happened, his fingers had been shattered in a head-on confrontation with Emo Qingyun. As Kong Ying flew backward, Emo Qingyun also took a few steps back. However, Emo Qingyun steadied himself. His figure flashed as he continued to chase after the sky eagle. Again, Kong Ying's face was ashen as he watched Emo Qingyun chase after him. He was so angry that he gritted his teeth and felt extremely sullen in his heart. Originally, he thought that if he made a move to deal with Emo Qingyun, it would be an easy matter. Who would have thought that when he really fought with Emo Qingyun, he would realize how monstrous Emo Qingyun was. At the same time, he also felt some regret in his heart at this moment. If he had gone to find Emo Qingyun for the first time, he would have attacked Emo Qingyun. According to Kong Shi's report, Emo Qingyun was not so strong when he was in the Kongxiang dynasty. After learning about Emo Qingyun's powerful physique, Kong Ying immediately decided that he must not fight him head-on. Chapter 3361. Although Kong Ying tried his best to escape, his speed was not as fast as Emo Qingyun's. Under Emo Qingyun's crazy pursuit, his injuries became more and more serious, and his resistance became more and more powerless. Get out! Seeing that it was about time, Emo Qingyun did not hesitate and immediately increased the intensity of his attacks. Emo Qingyun stepped on the 10-winged divine power Pegasus and arrived in front of Kong Ying in a flash. At this moment, Emo Qingyun's attacks were so ruthless that he even gave up on defense. Seeing Emo Qingyun's actions, Kong Ying's face turned ashen and his face trembled. He knew very well that he had no way out in the current situation. Either he fought Emo Qingyun head-on and see if he could make Emo Qingyun pay the price. The other option was to temporarily avoid the brunt of the attack and use all his strength to resist Emo Qingyun's attacks. In this way, his injuries would worsen and he would lose the strength to fight again. Kong Ying's mind spun quickly and soon made a decision. Emo Qingyun, if you want to defeat me, you have to pay the price. Great desolate lone eagle claw. Kong Ying roared angrily and the aura he emitted instantly became colder. It felt like a hungry eagle in an endless desert, ready to tear its prey to shreds at any time. Violent divine power surged wildly and erupted from Kong Ying's body like a flood. This burst of divine power fused with the nearly 80,000 nomological threads and transformed into a gigantic golden eagle. Under the aura of the giant golden eagle, the entire arena was like an endless desert. It made people lose their fighting spirit and feel despair. Whoosh! With a low cry, the giant golden eagle spread its wings and swooped towards Emo Qingyun. In the face of the giant golden eagle's attack, Emo Qingyun was not afraid at all and took the initiative to meet it. As it approached Emo Qingyun, the golden eagle waved its claws wildly and attacked Emo Qingyun violently. Break! Facing the golden eagle's claws, Emo Qingyun did not retreat at all. Instead, he swung his fists to meet the attack. Every time Emo Qingyun swung his fist, it would land on the eagle claw, causing it to be in a stalemate. Not only that, but under Emo Qingyun's repeated punches, cracks began to appear on the eagle's claws. In this situation, it was clear that Emo Qingyun's attack had exceeded what the golden eagle could withstand. Bang! Not long after, Emo Qingyun's punch caused the giant golden eagle to collapse. After killing the golden eagle, Emo Qingyun's offensive did not slow down. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of the sky eagle. This time, Emo Qingyun didn't give Kong Ying another chance. He punched him crazily. Left with no choice, Kong Ying was forced to meet the attack head-on, choosing to confront Emo Qingyun head-on. Crack, crack, crack. After a few exchanges, the crisp sound of bones cracking could be heard from Kong Ying's arm. At the same time, Kong Ying was also sent flying, his face as pale as paper. However, the way he looked at Emo Qingyun was getting colder and colder. Emo Qingyun didn't care about Kong Ying's angry gaze at all. He said coldly, "Besides playing tricks behind your back, do you only know how to glare at people? If that's all you've got, then you're really too useless. You probably bought your 17th place on the Emperor rankings." Emo Qingyun's ridicule immediately caused Kong Ying's face to turn red, and his aura became unstable. Kong Ying was so angry that he couldn't suppress the surging blood in his body. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Emo Qingyun's words were seriously too heartrending. From today onwards, the battle prowess he possessed would definitely be questioned by others. "Just wait and see," Kong Ying snorted coldly. He walked out of the arena unwillingly. Emo Qingyun didn't care about Kong Ying's harsh words at all. He smiled and said, "What else can you do other than wait and see? You want to continue fighting me? Do you have the ability to do so?" Emo Qingyun's ridicule made Kong Ying's expression turn even uglier. Perhaps because he realized that his mouth wasn't as good as Emo Qingyun's, Kong Ying chose to shut his mouth this time. He probably also knew that he would be the one at a disadvantage if he continued to argue with Emo Qingyun. When he saw that Kong Ying wasn't speaking, Emo Qingyun turned to look at Yang Luo and said with a smile, "He's done for. It'll be your turn soon. I hope you have some ability." As soon as Emo Qingyun said this, Kong Ying's feet staggered. Kong Ying's heart was filled with anger and grievance. He couldn't wait to drag Emo Qingyun away and ask him a question. What did he mean by he was done for? Was he seriously injured? Or what? Humph! When he heard Emo Qingyun's words and saw Kong Ying's expression, Yang Luo snorted coldly and didn't retort. He knew that Emo Qingyun had a sharp tongue, so he couldn't outtalk Emo Qingyun. He knew that he couldn't outtalk Emo Qingyun. When he saw that Yang Luo had tactfully kept quiet, Emo Qingyun's interest was greatly reduced. He shook his head and walked to the side. After a while, when Emo Qingyun sat down and began to recover, the crowd burst into an uproar. Damn, Emo Qingyun actually won, and he defeated Kong Ying in a dominant manner. Is this kid really that strong? Or did Kong Ying really buy his 17th place on the Prince ranking? Although the possibility of that is very small, his 17th place on the Prince ranking is probably a big exaggeration. Some people looked at Kong Ying with doubtful gazes as they discussed the matter. Sensing the change in everyone's gaze, Kong Ying gnashed his teeth in anger. He couldn't wait to tear Emo Qingyun into pieces. This guy's strength is probably comparable to the top 10 on the Prince ranking and Princess ranking. Watching the battle between Emo Qingyun and Kong Ying, Kong Xian's pretty face was slightly shocked. She estimated Emo Qingyun's strength and thought, "He's only at the peak of the great god realm and has such battle strength. If his cultivation goes further, he might be able to reach the top 3 on the Prince ranking and Princess ranking. It's just that time is tight and there's no chance for him to go further. It's extremely difficult for him to qualify for the Sacred War." As soon as Kong Xian finished speaking, she rested her chin on her hand and looked at Emo Qingyun worriedly. In her opinion, even though Emo Qingyun had defeated Kong Ying, the following opponents would be stronger. This was especially true for Kong Shui. She was ranked 11th on the Empress ranking many years ago. Her true battle strength was probably not what it had shown. While Emo Qingyun was recovering, the other battles ended quickly. There was basically no suspense. Not long after, only Emo Qingyun, Kong Shui, Yang Luo, and Fan Rou were left in the 10th area. At this time, 2 more names flew out from the wooden board in the 10th area. They were Emo Qingyun and Fan Rou. Seeing this result, Fan Rou smiled bitterly. In the previous round, Kong Shui didn't encounter Yang Luo, so she didn't have a chance. But when faced with this result, she couldn't help but feel disappointed. She was going to be eliminated. Huff! Fan Rou took a deep breath and looked at Emo Qingyun, who had stood up and said, "I admit defeat." She knew very well that she had no chance of winning against Mo Qingyun. In this case, she might as well painfully admit defeat and give herself a way out. As Fan Rou admitted defeat, it indicated that Mo Qingyun had entered the final battle. Chapter 3362. Seeing that Fan Rou had admitted defeat, Mo Qingyun sat down again, waiting for Yang Luo and Kong Xue's battle. When Mo Qingyun sat down, his name merged with Fan Rou's name, and the light became stronger. The next opponents, whether it's Yang Luo or Kong Xue, I'm afraid they won't be easy to deal with. Looking at Yang Luo and Kong Xue, who had stood up, Mo Qingyun frowned slightly. He regarded the two of them with more importance. He felt some danger from Yang Luo and Kong Xue, which was different from when he faced Kong Ying. Clearly, their true strength wasn't as simple as it appeared on the surface. Yang Luo walked to the center of the arena and revealed an excited expression. He looked at Kong Xue and said, "Sister Kong Xue, I didn't expect that we would really meet. I will defeat you with all my strength later." Hearing Yang Luo's words, Mo Qingyun's lips curled up slightly. He said with a smile, "If you defeat Kong Xue, she will lose the qualifications to participate in the Holy War. This way, it will be even more difficult for her to accept you. Facing such a situation, you actually feel excited. Serves you right for being alone until now." Mo Qingyun's words caused Kong Xue's expression to change, but she didn't refute. Mo Qingyun was right. If Yang Luo defeated her, she would only hate Yang Luo. At this moment, after Mo Qingyun's reminder, Yang Luo finally realized this problem. His agreement with Kong Xue couldn't be fulfilled here. However, he had already said those words from the beginning. It was too late to regret it now. Yang Luo thought for a moment and said, "Sister Kong Xue, don't worry. Even if I defeat you and obtain the qualifications to participate in the Holy War, I will fight for the opportunity in my body." Hearing Yang Luo's words, Mo Qingyun shook his head and said, "If you really want Kong Xue's good, then take the initiative to admit defeat and give the qualifications to her. Besides, even if you defeat Kong Xue, you might not be able to stand out in the 10th area." Mo Qingyun's teasing made Yang Luo's expression change. For a moment, he was at a loss. He was very unwilling to give up the competition and admit defeat to allow Kong Xue to advance. However, if he defeated Kong Xue would definitely hate him. This was something he did not want. Seeing Yang Luo remain silent, Mo Qingyun chuckled and said, "You want to obtain benefits and win Kong Xue's heart. You are really greedy. From this, it can be seen that you do not care too much about Kong Xue. The words you said earlier were most likely words of hypocrisy." When Mo Qingyun's words left his mouth, Kong Xue's gaze towards Yang Luo clearly became colder. Although she knew very well that Mo Qingyun wasn't saying this for her sake, she had to admit that it made sense. "No. It's not like that." Seeing the intense anger in Kong Xue's eyes as she looked at him, Yang Luo hurriedly explained. Unfortunately, Kong Xue was not the slightest bit interested in his explanation. She coldly said, "No need to speak any more nonsense. Go all out and fight me." Seeing Kong Xue's action, Yang Luo revealed a difficult expression, not knowing what to do. Void Shadow Blizzard. Kong Xue paid no attention to Yang Luo's performance and took the initiative to attack. Kong Xue's figure moved and she turned into an afterimage, approaching Yang Luo. As Kong Xue moved, an ice-cold divine power burst out from her body. Under the cover of this divine power, the battle arena quickly turned into a world of ice and snow, emitting a shocking chill. Snowflakes also started to fall from the sky above the battle arena, turning it into a world of snow. After the world of snow finished evolving, Kong Xue's figure disappeared. Seeing such a scene, Yang Luo's expression tensed up and fear appeared in his eyes. He said, "Sister Kong Xue, I am sorry. I cannot lose. I must participate in the Holy War." Yang Luo's gaze became firm as his words fell. He did not let down the panic and helplessness from before. At the same time, the aura that Yang Luo emitted also rose rapidly. Mid-Divine King Realm, Late Divine King Realm, Peak Divine King Realm, Quasi-Emperor Realm. In the blink of an eye, the aura that Yang Luo emitted had reached the level of a half-step Divine Emperor. Half-step Divine Emperor. Sensing Yang Luo's aura, Emo Qingyun was shocked. He was somewhat surprised by Yang Luo's cultivation. He did not expect Yang Luo to have hidden so much of his cultivation. This fellow was also good at hiding. When Emo Qingyun noticed this, he looked at Yang Luo with an even graver gaze. No wonder he felt an intense threat from Yang Luo. It turned out that this was the case. Half-step Divine Emperor. This Yang Luo is really low-key. With his cultivation, he probably has a chance of competing with the top 10 of the Emperor ranking. It looks like he wants to shock everyone in this holy war qualification battle. Faced with such an opportunity, he indeed cannot give it up. It is normal for him not to admit defeat to Kong Shui. Normal my ass. He is clearly not sincere to Kong Shui. If he was, why would he be reluctant to give up the qualification for the holy war? That's right. What a hypocrite. He actually attacked Kong Shui. How can Kong Shui accept him? Dream on. Seeing Yang Luo's performance, the spectators were divided into two factions. One side understood and the other despised. After discovering Yang Luo's true cultivation, Kong Xian's pretty face was slightly shocked. She thought to herself, this time, that fellow called Emo Qingyun is in trouble. No matter how monstrous his talent is, he has no chance of winning against Yang Luo, who is a half-step Divine Emperor. Kong Xian was not the only one who thought so. Kong Qinglu also shook her head when she saw Yang Luo's cultivation. She said, "It looks like Emo Qingyun's luck is very bad. Originally, I thought that the 10th zone was the weakest. I did not expect there to be a half-step Divine Emperor Yang Luo. Putting aside Yang Luo's talent and trump cards, with his half-step Divine Emperor cultivation, he should be ranked in the top 10 of the Emperor ranking. It looks like Emo Qingyun's qualification battle will end here. What a pity." Kong Landuan nodded and could not help but sigh. He also felt sorry for Emo Qingyun. He said, encountering such a situation, even if Emo Qingyun is eliminated, there is nothing much to say. At this moment, while everyone was shocked by Yang Luo's cultivation, Kong Shui's aura suddenly changed. After a while, Kong Shui's aura became the same as Yang Luo's. She had also concealed her cultivation. Her cultivation had also broken through to the half-step Divine Emperor realm. Seeing such a situation, everyone was shocked. They could not recover for a long time. No one would have thought that the 10th zone, which was the weakest zone, would have two half-step Divine Emperors. In this way, this competition became more and more interesting. Of course, while everyone was looking forward to it, they also looked at Emo Qingyun with strong sympathy. Emo Qingyun was really unlucky to encounter such a situation and encounter such two opponents. From the looks of it, his trip to qualify for the Holy War was about to come to an end. Chapter 3363. Kong Shui and Yang Luo revealed their true cultivation. The battle between the two of them instantly became much more intense. Violent divine power burst out from their bodies like a monstrous wave, turning into a series of superpowers. The number of law threads that the two of them condensed neared 100,000. They crazily fused into their supernatural powers to increase their might. Boom boom boom, as Emo Qingyun fought fiercely, a series of deafening explosions took place in the 10th zone. At this moment, the 10th zone, which had caused the least commotion, suddenly became the zone with the most commotion. Seeing such a situation, it quickly attracted the attention of people from other areas, and they all looked over. When they saw Yang Luo and Kong Shui's strength, their expressions became tense. These two people's strength was terrifying. No matter who advanced to the next round, they would be a formidable opponent in the last round of eliminations. At this time, Kong Xianyin and Kong Xianwei discovered Mo Qingyun in the 10th area. When the two women saw Mo Qingyun, they were surprised at first, but then they smiled at Mo Qingyun. In response to his children's greetings, Mo Qingyun smiled and nodded politely in response. Does he know Xianyin and Xianwei? Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, Kong Xian's beautiful eyes trembled slightly, and a hint of shock emerged in her eyes. She was interested in Mo Qingyun because of his name. As she learned more about Mo Qingyun, she discovered how mysterious Mo Qingyun was, and her interest in him grew. Who the hell is this guy? Kong Xian's beautiful eyes frowned. Her heart was filled with curiosity. She could not help but have a bold idea. She thought to herself, could he be the person Linglong is looking for? If it's really him, then this is impossible. Kong Xian shook his head, trying to get rid of the distracting thoughts in his mind. However, once this thought appeared, it quickly took root in her heart, and she could no longer erase it. Under everyone's attention, the battle between Yang Luo and Kong Shui continued, and the battle became more and more intense. I didn't expect Yang Luo's strength to be so powerful, to actually be evenly matched with Kong Shui. If Yang Luo was in any other area, he would have a 90% chance of advancing. Not necessarily. The strength he has displayed now is only comparable to the top 5 on the prince ranking. It will be very difficult for him to advance. He and Kong Shui can be considered to be evenly matched, and the chances of victory and defeat are 50-50. No, if you observe carefully, you will discover that Yang Luo has a higher chance of winning. Everyone discussed and analyzed the battle between the two. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the battle between Yang Luo and Li Yundong slowly started to escalate. At this time, Yang Luo's advantage was becoming more and more obvious. Big sister Kongshui, you can't win against me. It's better if you admit defeat earlier. Seeing that his advantage was becoming more and more obvious, Yang Luo revealed a pleading expression, begging Kong Shui to stop the battle and admit defeat. To him, Kong Shui taking the initiative to admit defeat was the best outcome. Don't even think about it. Hearing Yang Luo's request, Kong Shui snorted lightly, and her attacks became even fiercer. However, even though Kong Shui increased the number of attacks on her hands, she was still unable to turn the situation around. Looking at this scene, Mo Qingyun sighed and said, from the current situation, Kong Shui doesn't have any other trump cards. The result of their battle is out. Bang! A muffled sound transmitted out. Following that, everyone saw a beautiful figure fall out of the battle area. It was precisely Kong Shui. Yang Luo and Kong Shui's battle, Yang Luo won in the end. Humph! Kong Shui stabilized her body, her gaze giving Yang Luo an icy glance, then she directly turned around and left. It looked like she hated Yang Luo. Seeing Kong Shui's performance, Yang Luo's expression became flustered, wanting to open his mouth to explain. It was just that without waiting for him to speak, Mo Qingyun revealed a faint smile and said, since you defeated her ruthlessly, don't be hypocritical anymore. Are you trying to say that you were also forced to do so? That you can't lose this battle, and you must advance to obtain the qualifications for the Holy War? Mo Qingyun's rebuke made Yang Luo tongue-tied, and he actually did not know how to refute. He indeed thought so. Mo Qingyun's words made Kong Shui stop in her tracks slightly, turning her head to look at Yang Luo. Seeing Yang Luo's performance, Kong Shui immediately understood that Mo Qingyun's words were right. Immediately, Kong Shui gave a cold snort, turned around and left again. This time, she left even more resolutely and decisively, obviously not giving Yang Luo another chance. Sister Kong Shui, without waiting for Yang Luo to finish speaking, Kong Shui's figure disappeared. Seeing such a scene, Yang Luo was immediately furious, looking coldly at Mo Qingyun, saying, Mo Qingyun, you. Regarding Yang Luo's anger, Mo Qingyun did not care at all. Fortunately, he closed his eyes and adjusted his breathing to recover. Seeing Mo Qingyun ignore him, Yang Luo was so angry that he gnashed his teeth, forcibly suppressing the anger in his heart. He did not need to be anxious. Soon, he would be able to fight Mo Qingyun and settle the score with him. Refine. Yang Luo sat down cross-legged, raised his hand, and grabbed, blasting out a burst of divine power, turning into a huge claw shadow. The claw shadow flew out, grabbed the name in midair, and dragged it to his side. Boom! 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 As Yang Luo's name was caught by the divine power claw, the sky above the 10th area shook. Sensing such a situation, Mo Qingyun slowly opened his eyes and looked at Yang Luo. He saw Yang Luo raise his right hand, reaching towards his name, and extracting a mysterious power from it. When this power was extracted, the light on Yang Luo's name immediately became much dimmer. At the same time, the power extracted from the name was absorbed into Yang Luo's body. Then, Yang Luo began to refine this power, increasing his strength. Hey! This power can be used like this. Seeing Yang Luo's action, Mo Qingyun revealed a look of surprise, and an idea came to his mind, saying, "If I refine this power, can my cultivation improve further and break through to the heavenly god realm?" Thinking so, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated, copying Yang Luo and grabbing at the name. Immediately, Mo Qingyun's name in midair was captured in front of Mo Qingyun. Grabbing the name in front of him, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate at all, immediately extracting the power from it. After the power was extracted, Mo Qingyun absorbed it into his body, refining and absorbing it. This power was very mysterious. As soon as it entered Mo Qingyun's body, it was quickly assimilated by him, increasing his cultivation. Then, the aura that Mo Qingyun exuded began to rise rapidly. In a short while, the aura that Mo Qingyun exuded entered the quasi-heavenly god realm. He's preparing to break through to the heavenly god realm? Seeing Mo Qingyun's action, Kong Xian's beautiful eyes moved slightly, revealing a look of surprise. Soon, she understood and nodded, saying, "With his current cultivation, it's still a little difficult to fight Yang Luo, but there's some hope if he breaks through to the heavenly god realm." Kong Xian muttered to herself, revealing an expectant and nervous gaze, fully focused on Mo Qingyun's situation. Chapter 3364. As Mo Qingyun's aura rose, one line after another began to condense above his head. To be more precise, these were not thin lines, but pillars of light. As these pillars of light condensed, an ancient and mysterious aura emanated from them. This aura is Genesis Supreme's great Tao origin? Sensing the aura of the law threads, Kong Qinglyo's beautiful eyes trembled and her face was filled with shock. However, before she could calm her shock, the shock on her face became even stronger. She said, "No, this isn't Genesis Supreme's great Tao origin. It seems to be on a higher level than Genesis Supreme's great Tao origin." This discovery truly frightened Kong Qinglu. She found it difficult to comprehend for a long time. What was Genesis Supreme's great Tao origin? This was something that only God-Emperor powerhouses could comprehend. Mo Qingyun's mere quasi-celestial god cultivation had actually succeeded in comprehending it. How could this not be shocking? How could it not be terrifying? No wonder his law threads are so powerful. So this is the reason. Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, Kong Lanyue revealed a look of understanding, the doubts in his heart resolved. Immediately, she and Kong Qinglu looked nervously at Mo Qingyun. Seeing Mo Qingyun cultivating and attempting to break through to the celestial god realm, Kong Qinglu said to an elder beside her, "He's currently at a critical stage of cultivation. Don't disturb him for the time being. Even if the competition in the other areas ends, don't wake him up from his cultivation." "Yes." Hearing Kong Qinglyo's instructions, the elder immediately responded and began to pass down the decree. When the elder passed down the decree, He prevented others from disturbing Mo Qingyun's cultivation and even set up a protective array formation for Mo Qingyun. In the following time, Mo Qingyun cultivated wholeheartedly, condensing law threads one after another. 100, 200, 500, 1000. Looking at Mo Qingyun's condensed nomological threads, the surrounding onlookers were all stunned. Is this guy still human? He actually condensed another 2000 law threads. It's not 2000 law threads. His cultivation hasn't ended yet. Looking at this trend, the number of law threads he condensed this time may reach more than 3000. In this case, when he breaks through to the celestial god realm, won't his law threads be close to twice as many as others? Moreover, his law threads are powerful, close to 5 times as powerful as others. In this case, hiss! Everyone's eyes immediately filled with fear as they looked at Mo Qingyun. If that was the case, Mo Qingyun was truly too terrifying. Time little by little. While Mo Qingyun's cultivation, the results of the other 10 other areas. The candidates in these 10 areas were as follows. First area. First Princess Kong Ran. Second area. First Prince Kong Luo. Third. 7th Princess Kong Xuanin. Region 4. 21st Princess Kong Xianyue. 5th Region. Zhenjiang Marquis Manor. 2nd Young Master Zhen Ruochen. Region 6. Grand Elder Long Yuan's Residence. Eldest Young Master Yuan Ruiying. Region 7. 3rd Prince Kong Yu. Zone 8. The 2nd Prince Kong He. Zone 9. 2nd Princess Jiang Ruoshi. The 10th Zone, not out yet. Zone 11. 6th Prince Fan Rahai. These 10 people were all extremely strong. Every one of them was a half-step god emperor. More importantly, these superficial realms might not be their true realms. After these 10 people defeated their opponents, they looked at the situation of Mo Qingyun and Lu Li and began to refine the energy of the wooden tokens. In their opinion, since they had nothing to do, they might as well cultivate and increase their strength. After all, there would be a tougher battle to fight in a while. Increasing his strength would give him more confidence. As the people from the other 10 zones were selected, everyone's attention was focused on the 10th zone. At this moment, under everyone's attention, Yang Luo's cultivation ended. Perhaps it was because his cultivation level was too high. Even though he had refined the nameplate's energy, his cultivation level did not increase. However, compared to before, his aura was much stronger. This fellow is also refining the wooden tablet's energy? Seeing Mo Qingyun's situation, Yang Luo was slightly stunned. His eyes flashed with shock as he thought to himself, 4,300 nomological threads. He has condensed another 4,000 nomological threads. If I let him continue cultivating, his strength will definitely skyrocket. Even if I go all out against him, I'm afraid it won't be easy. As Yang Luo thought of this, he became anxious and prepared to stop Mo Qingyun's cultivation. Yang Luo thought for a while and his expression turned cold. He said, Mo Qingyun, everyone's battle has ended. How dare you stall for time? Aren't you embarrassed to make everyone wait for you? As soon as Yang Luo finished speaking, he struck out his palm toward Mo Qingyun. Buzz. However, Yang Luo's palm was blocked by a transparent light barrier 10 meters away from Mo Qingyun. Seeing this, Yang Luo's face darkened. He knew what was going on. If he was not wrong, an elder must have set up a forbidden array formation outside Mo Qingyun. The purpose of this move was probably to prevent others from interfering and disturbing Mo Qingyun's cultivation. Yang Luo felt jealous when he thought about how he did not have any guards when he was cultivating. Why was the difference in treatment between him and Mo Qingyun so great? Although he was very unwilling, Yang Luo did not dare attack again. He only glared coldly at Mo Qingyun. Another few hours passed. Mo Qingyun still showed no signs of stopping cultivating. The people in the other areas had already finished cultivating. After refining the energy in the wooden tablet, Their strength had increased, but they had not broken through. Seeing that the others had finished cultivating, Yang Luo glanced at Emo Qingyun and said with a dark face, "Patriarch, everyone's competition has ended. Emo Qingyun is delaying here. I think this is unfair to everyone. He should be disqualified." Hearing Yang Luo's words, the surrounding people began to whisper and point at Emo Qingyun and Kong Qingyun. Everyone naturally knew that Yang Luo's words were obviously an excuse to eliminate Emo Qingyun. Hearing Yang Luo's words, Kong Qinlu thought for a while and said, "Emo Qingyun is cultivating to break through to the heavenly god realm. This is an unexpected situation. We should give him a chance. However, it is not a good idea to let the other 10 groups wait. In that case, the other 10 groups will fight each other. When Emo Qingyun finishes cultivating and decides the winner with Yang Luo, he will fight the 10 of you." Hearing Kong Qinglio's words, everyone nodded. This was a good solution. There was no need for everyone to wait, and there was no need for Emo Qingyun to cultivate. Chapter 3365. Boom, boom, boom. Following Green Willow Kong's instructions, several elders acted together and removed the array formation around the battle area. While the isolation formation was removed, the originally split name wooden tokens began to slowly merge together. Not only that, but because Kong Ran and the others were powerful, the battle would cause a great commotion. While the elders were consolidating the battlefield, they strengthened the stabilizing formation of the battlefield by a few degrees. Because Emo Qingyun and Yang Luo were not participating in the competition, the 10th area was not integrated, and the wooden tokens were not integrated. No one cared about this. Now that the other 10 areas were competing, it was to give Emo Qingyun time to cultivate, so he naturally could not be included. After a while, the integration of the battle area was completed. The 10 wooden tokens merged into one, and the opponents began to be assigned. The first names to fly out were 1st Prince Kong Ran and 6th Prince Fan Rahai. Seeing their names fly out, Kong Ran and Fan Rahai got up and walked to the center of the battle area. "Fan Rahai, you are no match for me. Back down." Kong Ran looked down at Fan Rahai with the attitude of an emperor. Fan Rahai was very unhappy with Kong Ran's attitude. He snorted and said, "Kong Ran, although you are very strong, I, Fan Rahai, am not a coward. It is absolutely impossible for you to make me admit defeat with just one sentence. If you want me to admit defeat, show me what you've got." As soon as Fan Rahai finished speaking, his figure flashed and he took the lead to attack Kong Ran. The fact that Fan Rahai could hold the position of the 6th prince was enough to prove that he was extraordinary. He showed great strength as soon as he attacked. Just his aura alone was not weaker than Kong Shui and Yang Luo, and even more terrifying than the two. "You overestimate yourself." Kong Ran's expression did not change in the face of Fan Rahai's attack, and he casually blasted out a palm. Kong Ran blasted out a palm, and the powerful momentum of a half-step divine emperor erupted from his body. At the same time, more than 100,000 threads of law also condensed in the air above him. After the threads of law were formed, they integrated into his divine ability and crushed down on Fan Rahai. Bang! The two divine abilities collided and immediately burst out with a loud bang, creating a terrifying storm of divine power. As soon as the god power storm took shape, it spread out in all directions and swallowed Brahma Rahai whole. Then, everyone saw a figure flying backward and crashing heavily into the stabilizing array of the battle stage. Kong Ran is so strong. As expected of the 1st prince. So the rumors are true. Kong Ran can really fight god emperors. From the looks of it, Fan Rahai is definitely going to lose this battle. I wonder who will be stronger if Kong Ran meets Kong Luo or... That's hard to say. Kong Luo's strength is also extremely strong. It's said that she can also fight against Divine Lord. Everyone exclaimed in surprise. Under everyone's surprised gazes, Kieran looked at Fan Rahai with an indifferent expression and said coldly, "Don't be like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Save some strength for the next battle. If you continue to attack, I won't be polite anymore. I hope you won't embarrass yourself." Fan Rahai's face darkened at Kongran's words, and he said coldly, "Do you only know how to talk nonsense? Again, if you want me to admit defeat, then show me what you've got." Fan Rahai was very straightforward. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure flashed and he took the initiative to attack again. Kongran was really angry at Fan Rahai's action. He shouted, "Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." As soon as Kongran said this, his attacks became fiercer, as if he didn't want to show mercy anymore. As Kongran attacked with all his strength, Fan Rahai's situation immediately became unfavorable. Under Kongran's powerful attacks, Fan Rahai was completely crushed. The two exchanged about 100 moves before Fan Rahai finally admitted defeat. The battle between the two was so intense that it couldn't be turned around by fighting spirit. "You know your place." After defeating Fan Rahai, Kongran snorted softly and his expression improved a little. Fan Rahai didn't care about Kongran's attitude at all. A faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Kongran, I admit that you're very strong. I'm not your opponent now, but in the next holy war, the winner will definitely be me." After saying this, Fan Rahai walked to the side and sat cross-legged to cultivate and heal his injuries. What everyone didn't expect was that while Fan Rahai was cultivating and healing his injuries, his aura was actually rising rapidly. He was going to break through to the God Emperor realm. Fan Rahai is going to break through? So he had such an idea when he fought Kongran, borrowing Kongran's power to stimulate his potential and speed up the pace of breaking through to the God Emperor realm. What a good plan! If Fan Rahai breaks through to the God Emperor realm, he'll basically win the next battle. The others are in danger. God Emperor Fan Rahai's combat power is very terrifying. Everyone exclaimed. Unavoidably, Xianin and the others were worried. There were only a total of 10 spots to participate in the Holy War. Now that there were 11 people, one was bound to be eliminated. Although Mo Qingyun duo didn't participate, it could be seen from the previous battle that Mo Qingyun duo's combat power was powerful. Those who could make it here were all geniuses. No one was willing to be eliminated. As a result, the next round of sparring was bound to be a fierce battle between dragons and tigers. Amidst everyone's shock, 2 more names flew out. They were the second son of the Zhenjiang Marquis Mansion, Zhen Ruochen, and the third son, Kong Yu. Zhen Ruochen and Kong Yu went up and exchanged a few simple pleasantries before they fought fiercely. Because the difference in strength between the two wasn't great, their battle scene was more intense than Kongran's. Of course, Mo Qingyun didn't know anything about these people's battle. Now, he was wholeheartedly condensing the law threads and stabilizing his realm that he had just broken through. Time passed by little. After more than 2 hours, the aura emitted by Mo Qingyun gradually stabilized. Then, Mo Qingyun opened his eyes and showed a regretful expression. He shook his head and said, "It's a pity that the energy in the wooden token is a little less. It can only allow my cultivation to break through to the half-step Sky God realm. If only there was more, I would break through to the Sky God realm directly." Mo Qingyun muttered to himself. He abandoned the distracting thoughts in his mind and looked at the battlefield. He saw Kong Xianin fighting with someone and suppressing her opponent. Miss Xuanin's strength has improved very quickly recently. Seeing Kong Xuanin's performance, Mo Qingyun's eyes flashed with a touch of surprise. The last time they parted, Kong Xuanin's strength wasn't at this level. Seeing that Mo Qingyun ignored him, Yang Luo immediately became angry and shouted, "Mo Qingyun, since you're done with your cultivation, then fight with me. Don't delay any longer." Chapter 3366. Sorry, I was too engrossed in my cultivation just now and forgot about you. Mo Qingyun smiled apologetically after glancing at Yang Luo a few times, and gave a simple explanation. Yang Luo's face instantly darkened when he heard Mo Qingyun's words. Mo Qingyun had gone too far. He actually dared to humiliate him like this. This guy's mouth is really mean. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Kong Xian, who was sitting in the spectator stand, frowned slightly and said, Yang Luo is really unlucky to have met this guy. Yang Luo must be in a bad mood after being provoked by this guy's word. However, this guy provoked Yang Luo so much. If he is defeated by Yang Luo later, he will definitely be tortured badly. When Kong Xian thought of this, she had a strong sense of expectation. She wanted to see the battle between Mo Qingyun and Yang Luo. Qing Lu and Kong Xian also wanted to see Mo Qingyun fight. Seeing that Mo Qingyun had finished his cultivation, Kong Xian's expression relaxed slightly. She smiled faintly and said, "The time is just right. If he didn't finish his cultivation, it would be troublesome if I wanted to delay the time after Kong Ran and the others finished their battle. Now that he has finished his cultivation, it won't delay things at all. I hope that his next performance will bring me some surprises. It won't be in vain for me to make an exception for him again and again." After Kong Xian finished speaking, she also showed an expectant expression, waiting for Mo Qingyun's battle performance. Kong Lanwen nodded, but then frowned slightly and said, Yang Luo's current cultivation is only half a step away from the Celestial Emperor realm. I'm afraid it won't be easy for Mo Qingyun to defeat him. Kong Xian didn't speak. She just looked at Mo Qingyun with curiosity and expectation on her face. In the battle area. Mo Qingyun, I really didn't expect that the person who will fight me in the end would be you. Yang Luo suppressed the anger in his heart and looked at Mo Qingyun with a gloomy face. He gritted his teeth and said, however, this is also good. I can teach you a lesson with my own hand. As for me, when I defeat you later, it will be a celebration for me making it to the final battle. Mo Qingyun didn't care about Yang Luo's words at all. He smiled faintly and said, I don't agree with you. I didn't fight with you in the end so that you can defeat me. On the contrary, I'm fighting you for your own good. You saw the situation of the first group's fight. Is that something you can participate in? With your strength, you'll be beaten to death if you participate. Now that I'm eliminating you, I'm saving your life. Mo Qingyun's words stunned the people around him. Before anyone could react, Mo Qingyun's figure flashed as he took the initiative to attack Yang Luo. Tai Dragon. Mo Qingyun conversed with the 10-winged Pegasus and instantly arrived in front of Yang Luo. He smiled and said, although I saved your life out of goodwill, you kept on going against me. It's necessary to teach you a lesson. As Mo Qingyun spoke, he had already punched out with a terrifying aura. You sneaked an attack on me. Facing Mo Qingyun's attack, Yang Luo was so frightened that he quickly counterattacked. He really didn't expect that Mo Qingyun would suddenly attack. He didn't play by the rules at all. Looking at the fight between Kong Ran and the others, which one of them didn't use peaceful means before resorting to force? None of them attacked without a word like Mo Qingyun. Hearing Yang Luo's words, Mo Qingyun shook his head and said with a smile, Look at you. Am I sneaking an attack on you? I'm attacking openly, okay? With your mentality and experience, can you participate in the Holy War? Who are your opponents in the Holy War? Do you know? Are they all the geniuses of the heaven realm? They won't be like me, guiding you time and time again, taking care of you, and tolerating you. In your state, if you fight with them, you'll die at least 100 times. Listen to me, admit defeat obediently and go home. Mo Qingyun's series of words made Yang Luo almost explode. These words were really too harsh. But what made him vomit blood was that he actually didn't know how to refute. This Mo Qingyun's mouth is really too powerful. Yang Luo is at a disadvantage in this aspect. Looking at Mo Qingyun's performance, Kong Qinglu smiled faintly and shook his head, but his expression was mixed with admiration. In a battle between experts, every detail was crucial, especially in psychological warfare. Clearly, in the psychological warfare segment, Mo Qingyun instantly defeated Yang Luo. "Shut up for me, go to hell." Yang Luo couldn't reason with Mo Qingyun. With a furious roar, he attacked Mo Qingyun crazily. Facing Yang Luo's attack, Mo Qingyun didn't meet it head-on and chose to temporarily avoid it. Yang Luo's half-step God-Emperor strength was still very terrifying. Mo Qingyun wouldn't be able to gain any advantage in a head-on confrontation. This wasn't a wise choice. Mo Qingyun's figure flashed a few times and dodged Yang Luo's attack. He smiled and said, "How can you shout like this when fighting with others? Aren't you alerting others? Look, I'm so close to you, but you can't hit me. It's because you reminded me. Thank you." As Mo Qingyun's words fell, he blasted out a palm and blasted out a sharp palm shadow. Facing Mo Qingyun's palm shadow, Yang Luo didn't dare to be careless and immediately punched out to meet the palm shadow. Bang! Under Yang Luo's punch, the palm shadow was instantly dispersed and turned into a pure divine power. After neutralizing Mo Qingyun's attack with a punch, Yang Luo's attack didn't stop and he continued to chase after Mo Qingyun. Perhaps he knew that he couldn't win against Mo Qingyun, so when Yang Luo attacked now, he didn't speak anymore. Seeing that Yang Luo didn't speak, Mo Qingyun didn't mind and exchanged blows with him unhurriedly. While he was fighting Mo Qingyun, he wasn't completely without purpose. He did this because he wanted to test Yang Luo's depth, so that he could gauge his current strength. After a while, Yang Luo's attack was once again dodged by Mo Qingyun. Yang Luo's face darkened as he shouted, "Mo Qingyun, other than dodging, don't you have any other ability?" Hearing Yang Luo's words, Mo Qingyun stopped and his eyes revealed a playful look. He said, "I've played with you for so long. It's time to end the battle. If that's the case, I'll use my full strength and train with you." As Mo Qingyun's words fell, he activated 20,000 strands of nomological law to increase his battle strength. As the 20,000 strands of nomological law were activated, Mo Qingyun's aura immediately soared several times. Seeing Mo Qingyun's action, Yang Luo's expression became serious. He felt a threat from Mo Qingyun's body, so he didn't dare to underestimate him. Not only was Yang Luo nervous, but even the onlookers became nervous. Mo Qingyun was going to fight for real. Would he be a match for Yang Luo? Under everyone's nervous gaze, Mo Qingyun's figure flashed and he took the initiative to attack Yang Luo again. Chapter 3367. Divine Thunder Dragon Wave. Mo Qingyun clenched his fists. Divine power surged from his fists, causing the space around him to tremble. He punched out. Divine power surged out like waves, releasing dazzling lightning. Roar. As the divine power surged, it quickly transformed into a lightning dragon that pounced toward Yang Luo. As the lightning dragon pounced, the 20,000 threads of law above Mo Qingyun merged with it. The merging of the two threads of law caused the lightning dragon's aura to increase by several levels. Not only that, but the lightning dragon's size also increased several times in an instant. So strong. This lightning dragon's aura is almost comparable to that of an emperor god expert. This guy is too monstrous. How did he do it? It's not strange. With the strength of his law threads, his 20,000 law threads are comparable to our 100,000. Some weak emperor gods can only condense 100,000 strands of law threads, Jian Wushuang said. The onlookers exclaimed. Under everyone's shocked gaze, the lightning dragon arrived in front of Yang Luo and waved its dragon claws at him. Lunar Ice Qilin Spear. Facing the dragon claws, Yang Luo did not retreat. He raised his hand and took out a strong spear. As soon as the long spear appeared, cold light shot out in all directions. It was like a year of ice, exuding a terrifying chill. As the chill surged, an even more domineering divine power erupted from the long spear. Roar! The divine power left the long spear and turned into a sky-blue giant beast. The scales on its body flashed with cold light. At the same time, Yang Luo activated nearly 100,000 threads of law and merged them into the blue giant beast's body. Seeing Yang Luo's counterattack, Kong Qinglio's eyes jump. She exclaimed, "The lunar spear and the ice qilin technique. I didn't expect Yang Luo to refine the lunar spear and cultivate the ice qilin technique. Mo Qingyun seems to be in trouble." Hearing Qinglio's words, Kong Lanyue's expression also became tense. He said, "The Great Yin Spear is the Great Yin Divine Emperor's natal magic treasure. At its peak, it reached the rank of quasi-ultimate god. Now, it's still a middle-grade Divine Emperor-level divine weapon. Even if Yang Luo hasn't completely refined it, the increase in battle strength is still terrifying. The Ice Qilin art is a peak-level God-Emperor realm cultivation technique. It can double the power of ice divine abilities. The power of Yang Luo's spear is enough to enter the top 10 of the Emperor list." As Kong Lanyue and Kong Lanyue spoke, both of their expressions tightened. Especially Azure Willow. Looking at her current behavior, it seemed that she was ready to intervene at any time to stop the battle. Boom! Under everyone's nervous gazes, the giant blue beast and the lightning dragon collided and fought crazily. For a moment, the battle between the two giant beasts had entered a stalemate. He blocked it. Seeing this situation, Kong Qinglu and Kong Lanyue were both startled. They saw the respect in each other's eyes. They had thought that Mo Qingyun was already amazing for being able to block this attack. Who would have thought that not only did Mo Qingyun block the attack, but he was also able to fight evenly with it. "You have some skills to be able to block my attack." Looking at Mo Qingyun's performance, Mo Qingyun's face darkened. He said coldly, "Unfortunately, you've exhausted all your abilities to block my attack. If that's the case, it's time for our battle to end." As soon as Yang Luo's words fell, the long spear in his hand slashed down, and an even stronger burst of God force erupted. This burst of God force turned into a sharp spear light that swept towards Mo Qingyun. Facing the incoming spear light, Mo Qingyun did not retreat. Instead, a strong fighting spirit erupted from his body as he said, "You haven't fallen yet, how can I be at the end of my rope?" Dark demon dragon sky-devouring roar. Mo Qingyun clenched his fists and raised his head to the sky with an angry roar. His body rapidly grew in size. At the same time, a monstrous dragon's aura erupted from Mo Qingyun's body. In the blink of an eye, Mo Qingyun had transformed into a giant dragon, his body exuding a bewitching bloody light. This is an amethyst thunder dragon? He is a monster? Isn't he from the dark demon sky-devouring clan? Where did this kid come from? What a freak! Everyone exclaimed in surprise. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, no one would have thought that Mo Qingyun would reveal his true dragon form. Moreover, Mo Qingyun's true form was an extremely rare and noble amethyst thunder dragon. Not only were the others shocked, but even Kong Qinglu and Kong Lanyue were stunned at this moment. Dragon race? Amethyst thunder dragon? In the information they had received, there was no such information. Previously, they had only received information that Mo Qingyun possessed the bloodline of an amethyst thunder dragon. Now that Mo Qingyun had transformed into an amethyst thunder dragon, it was completely different. This meant that Mo Qingyun wasn't a human, but a monster. He's a monster? Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, Kong Xian was dumbfounded in place, feeling that her brain wasn't enough. While she was shocked, she also showed some disappointment on her face. It seems that he really isn't the person Linglong is looking for. According to her memories, the person Linglong was looking for absolutely couldn't be a monster. Roar. While everyone was shocked, A heaven-shaking dragon's roar came from Mo Qingyun's mouth. Immediately, a giant black dragon emerged from Mo Qingyun's body. When the black dragon met the spear light, 100,000 threads of law quickly gathered and merged into the black dragon's body. Soon, the spear light's attack was blocked by the black dragon, producing a terrifying divine power shockwave. As this shockwave spread, Yang Luo's gaze also became slack for a short moment. Looking at him, it seemed that his consciousness had been hit, causing him to become dizzy for a short moment. Seeing Yang Luo's situation, everyone was shocked. At this moment, a huge figure appeared in front of Yang Luo with a swoosh. Before Yang Luo could react, the giant figure waved its claws and swept towards Yang Luo's chest. When the dragon claws were close, Yang Luo regained consciousness and quickly blocked the Taiyin spear in front of his chest. Clang! The dragon claws hit the Taiyin spear, producing a deafening sound. At the same time, a terrifying divine power also acted on the Taiyin spear and seeped into Yang Luo's body. Being hit by this force, Yang Luo was immediately sent flying, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Seeing such a scene, everyone's expression was greatly shocked. Each and every one of them was stunned on the spot. Yang Luo was injured. He was being suppressed by Mo Qingyun. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the giant dragon didn't stop, and its figure flashed again, chasing after Yang Luo. The dragon figure flashed a few times and arrived in front of Yang Luo, waving its claws at him again. "Humph! I was careless just now and let you succeed once. This time you won't succeed." Looking at the dragon claws approaching rapidly, Yang Luo didn't retreat at all. The Taiyin spear in his hand turned and pierced towards the dragon claws. Facing the attack of the Taiyin spear, the giant dragon didn't continue to attack. Instead, it quickly retracted its claws and retreated. Although his physique was strong, he was still at a disadvantage when facing the Taiyin spear. Seeing the giant dragon stop, Yang Luo's expression relaxed, and he charged forward to counterattack. Chapter 3368. Mo Qingyun, even if you revert to your original form, you're still no match for me. Yang Luo sneered as he chased after Mo Qingyun. It was as if he could see the outcome of the battle. Mo Qingyun smirked as he looked at the rapidly approaching Yang Luo. You seem to have forgotten the power of the Heavenly Might Overlord body. Heavenly Might's secret skill. Before Yang Luo could react, Mo Qingyun executed the Heavenly Might's secret skill to attack Yang Luo. As the Heavenly Might's secret skill was executed, dark clouds gathered above the battle stage and lightning surged. As the thunderclouds gathered, the array that stabilized the battle platform seemed to become unstable. So powerful, is this the Heavenly Might Overlord body? Judging from the aura, an ordinary God Emperor's attack wouldn't be able to reach this level. Even a God Emperor couldn't block it. Can Yang Luo block it? How would I know? I'm not even a divine king. Why don't you try? Get lost. You might be afraid of death, but I'm not. Everyone exclaimed when they saw the power of the Heavenly Might Overlord body. Kong Xian's beautiful eyes widened. She covered her mouth with both hands and said, "This guy really hid his strength well. He actually left such a trump card. I wonder if Yang Luo can block it? Patriarch, should we?" Seeing the aura of Mo Qingyun's Heavenly Might secret skill, some elders of the profound Heaven Sacred clan looked at Kong Qinglu worriedly. It was obvious what they meant. They were worried that the Heavenly Might secret skill was too powerful and would hurt Yang Luo. Kong Qinglu shook her head and said, "Don't worry. With Yang Luo's strength, even if he can't block the Heavenly Might secret skill, his life won't be in danger. Let's not interfere. Let Yang Luo block it. Maybe he has some other trump cards." Hearing Kong Qinglio's words, the elders stopped talking and looked at the 10th zone nervously. They never thought that the 10th zone, where the participants were ordinary, would have such a situation. Boom, boom, Boom! Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, terrifying bolts of lightning descended from the sky. As these lightning bolts descended, Yang Luo, who was the first to be struck, was submerged. Boom, boom, boom! At this moment, Yang Luo was like a target, being bombarded by bolt after bolt of lightning. Although Yang Luo tried his best to defend himself, many lightning bolts still landed on his body. Looking at Yang Luo's situation, everyone couldn't bear it and felt some sympathy for him. Encountering an opponent like Emo Qingyun, this guy was really unlucky. A short while later, the lightning stopped descending, and the thunderclouds in the sky dissipated, revealing Yang Luo's body. At that moment, Yang Luo was no longer as high-spirited and imposing as before. Instead, he appeared to be in an extremely sorry state. His hair was disheveled like withered grass, and his clothes were ragged. His entire body was charred black, and smoke was rising from many places. With his current appearance, even if he were to become a beggar, the beggar clan would not necessarily accept him. If he had to describe the current him, there was only one word to describe it: miserable. It was too tragic. Looking at Yang Luo's appearance, the corners of Emo Qingyun's mouth curled up slightly. He smiled and said, "How is it? Does it feel good? Do you want to do it again?" As Emo Qingyun spoke, he once again activated the Heaven's Might Overlord body, causing a gust of wind and clouds above the fighting ring to change color. Seeing such a scene, Yang Luo's body trembled, and he said coldly, "I admit defeat." As Yang Luo's words fell, he turned around and walked out of the fighting ring shakily. Seeing Yang Luo's appearance, an elder who was familiar with him immediately went forward to help him leave. "You're too timid. I just said it casually. I can't use it again." Looking at Yang Luo's back, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and teased him again. Listening to Emo Qingyun's words, Yang Luo's body trembled obviously, not knowing whether it was from anger or fear. However, to him, whether Emo Qingyun's words were true or not, it didn't matter. Now, not to mention that Emo Qingyun used the Heaven's Might secret skill, even a gentle push could knock him down. As Yang Luo left the fighting ring, the surroundings suddenly became quiet. At this moment, everyone's attention was focused on Emo Qingyun. Yang Luo was defeated. This meant that Emo Qingyun had advanced to the next round. Next, he would compete with the other 10 people for one of the 10 places in the Holy War. The next 10 people might be stronger than Yang Luo, and the battle would be more intense. While everyone was still in shock, Emo Qingyun didn't say anything and directly sat down cross-legged. Immediately, Emo Qingyun closed his eyes and immersed himself in cultivation again. Seeing Emo Qingyun's performance, everyone was puzzled and whispered to each other, "What is he trying to do?" Looking at him, I guess he was injured in the fight just now and is preparing to adjust his breath to recover. I don't think so. He looks more like he's trying to break through to the next realm. It's possible. He probably wanted to fight with Yang Luo just now, so he stopped cultivating. Look, he's condensing the line of law. He's really going to break through to the divine realm. Seeing Emo Qingyun's performance, everyone was amazed. They did not expect that Emo Qingyun had not reached his limit at this stage. Seeing Emo Qingyun's situation, the elder in charge of the battle looked at Kong Qinglu with a troubled expression and said, "Patriarch, Emo Qingyun is continuing to cultivate. In this way, the 10th zone still can't be integrated. What should we do?" Hearing the elder's request, Kong Qinglu frowned slightly, thought for a moment and said, "The other 10 people's battles are not over yet, and the rankings are not out yet. Emo Qingyun's battle with them is not urgent. When the 10 people's rankings are out, Emo Qingyun will fight with the last person, and the 10 people who have advanced will naturally be out." Hearing Kong Qinglyo's words, the elder did not speak anymore and continued to lead Kong Rant's battle. As for Emo Qingyun, there was another elder guarding him to prevent his cultivation from being disturbed. Next, time passed little by little as Mo Qingyun cultivated. As time passed, the number of line of law condensed by Mo Qingyun also increased. 100, 200, 300, 500, 800, 1000. After an unknown period of time, the number of line of law condensed by Mo Qingyun finally reached a limit. 5,000. The number of line of law condensed by Mo Qingyun this time reached 5,000 again. Looking at the 5,000 strands of law in the sky, the surrounding people were stunned. Each and every one of them had a solemn look on their faces. In this way, wouldn't the number of line of law condensed by Mo Qingyun reach 25,000? Just as everyone thought that Mo Qingyun had only condensed 25,000 line of law, Mo Qingyun thought to himself, 30,000 line of law should be my limit. It's time to break through to the divine realm. With this thought, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and began to break through to the divine realm. Chapter 3369. Half a day later. The battles of Kong Ran and the others were over, and the rankings of the 10 were out. First, Kong Ran. Second, Kong Luo. Third, Kong Xianin. Fourth, Yuan Ruiying. Fifth, Kong He. Sixth, Kong Xianyue. Seventh, Kong Yu. Eighth, Jiang Ruoxi. Ninth, Fan Rahai. 10th, Zhen Ruochen. When the rankings of Kong Ran and the others were out, everyone looked at Mo Qingyun, waiting for the next battle. I didn't expect Mr. Mo to advance. It's very surprising. Looking at Mo Qingyun in the 10th zone, Kong Xuanyue's beautiful eyes trembled and were filled with surprise. When she first met Mo Qingyun was only at the great divine realm, and his strength was only comparable to an ordinary divine realm expert. She didn't expect Mo Qingyun's strength to improve so much in just a few months. Mr. Mo's talent is extraordinary, and his cultivation speed is naturally not comparable to ours. Compared to Kong Xuanyue's surprise, Kong Xianin was very calm and didn't find it strange. She said, "Moreover, Mr. Mo still has a few divine powers that he hasn't used yet. If he fights with all his strength, we won't be a match for him." Kong Xianyue nodded in agreement. Out of everyone present, the one who understood Mo Qingyun the most was undoubtedly her. Hearing the conversation between Kong Xianin and Kong Xianyue, Kong Luo was surprised and said, Xianyue, do you know him?" After Kong Luo finished speaking, she showed a curious look and waited for Kong Xianin and Kong Xuanyue's response. "Yes." Kong Xianin nodded and said, "We traveled with Mr. Mo on the way to Carefree Valley. Also, we were the ones who led young Master Mo to the clan this time." Kong Xuanin's explanation made the curiosity in Kong Luo's eyes grow even stronger. Kong Luo said excitedly, "Since that's the case, tell me about him." Kong Luo's reaction surprised Kong Xianin and Kong Luo, but after thinking about it, they decided to tell Kong Luo. While they were talking, the second young master of the Marquis estate, Zhen Ruochen, walked in front of them and said, "Princesses, I will be fighting Mo Qingyun in a bit. Can you tell me about his situation?" Hearing Zhen Ruochen's request, Kong Xianyue and Kong Xianyue exchanged a glance. Kong Xianyue said, "Zhen Ruochen, it's not that I want to discourage you, but if you fight with Mo Qingyun, you have no chance of winning. I advise you to obediently admit defeat when you fight him later." Zhen Ruochen was speechless. He wanted Kong Xianyue to reveal some information, not to attack him. Seeing Zhen Ruochen's expression change, Kong Xianin hurriedly comforted him. "Zhen Ruochen, Xuanyue's words were a bit rude, I hope you don't take offense. Mr. Mo has several powerful divine powers. If you can force him to use these divine powers, you can force him to use his full combat strength. If you can't even do this, it will be extremely difficult for you to defeat Mr. Mo." Zhen Ruochen was speechless again. This was too much of a blow. Although he was a little speechless, Zhen Ruochen did know more about Mo Qingyun's situation. What shocked him was that Emo Qingyun had not used his full strength after defeating so many opponents. This was really terrifying. Boom. Under everyone's gazes, the aura that Emo Qingyun emitted suddenly became a little stronger. His cultivation had broken through and he had successfully advanced to the heavenly god realm. Sensing the change in Emo Qingyun's aura, Zhen Ruochen's expression immediately became more unsightly. Emo Qingyun's cultivation had broken through, which also meant that his strength had become stronger. After Emo Qingyun's cultivation had successfully broken through, he withdrew from cultivation and looked at Kong Ran and the others. When he saw Kong Xianin and Kong Xianyue, he smiled at them and slowly walked toward them. He smiled and said, "Miss Xianin, Miss Xianyue, I didn't expect that we would meet again in such a place." Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Kong Xianin smiled faintly and said, "I really didn't expect that Mr. Mo's strength would improve so much after not seeing him for a while. It seems that in the coming holy war, Mr. Emo, we will have to trouble you to take care of us." As soon as Kong Xianin finished speaking, Kong Xianyue looked excited and said, "Mr. Emo, have you found the person you are looking for?" "No." Emo Qingyun shook his head and said, "However, when this qualification battle is over, it will be much easier for me to find her." Kong Xianin and Kong Xianin thought for a while, and quickly understood what Emo Qingyun meant and what he was referring to. According to Emo Qingyun's performance, once the qualification battle was over, he would be famous in the mysterious Heaven Holy Clan. If Emo Qingyun's old friends were here, they would definitely know about him and take the initiative to look for Emo Qingyun. "Hey, did you two forget about me when you saw the handsome guy?" Seeing Emo Qingyun and the others chatting happily and directly ignoring her, Kong Luor was a little dissatisfied. Hearing Kong Luor's words, Emo Qingyun and the others were stunned, and only then did they notice Kong Luor next to them. Kong Xianin was slightly stunned, and then she introduced Emo Qingyun and Kong Xianin to her. Soon, Emo Qingyun and Kong Luor became familiar with each other and chatted happily. At this time, an elder walked out and said, "Since Emo Qingyun has completed his breakthrough, let's continue the competition to determine the 10 people participating in the Holy War." Just now, the second young master of the Border Suppression Marquis Mansion, Zhen Ruochen, had the highest ranking. Then, let him fight with Emo Qingyun to determine who will be eliminated. Hearing this elder's words, Zhen Ruochen's expression became dignified and he slowly walked towards the center of the arena. "I'm going over." Seeing Zhen Ruochen walk towards the battle area, Emo Qingyun didn't waste any time and walked out after giving some instructions. Soon, Emo Qingyun and Zhen Ruochen were confronting each other, and a strong smell of gunpowder erupted. "Young Master Emo, please go easy on me later." Looking at Emo Qingyun in front of him, Zhen Ruochen politely greeted him. In response to Zhen Ruochen's greeting, Emo Qingyun politely nodded. Emo Qingyun's performance made Zhen Ruochen gloomy for a while, and also produced some annoyance. Looking at Emo Qingyun's posture, it seemed that he really intended to show mercy. Was he looking down on him? "Since you're ready, let's start the competition." Seeing Emo Qingyun and Kong Xianin exchange politely, the elder in charge of the complicated competition urged them to start. At this moment when Emo Qingyun and Kong Xianin were about to fight, Kong Ran, who had won first place, suddenly walked out of the crowd and said, "Patriarch, Emo Qingyun is not a member of our clan. Letting him participate in the qualification competition is already the greatest privilege. Therefore, I think that the difficulty of his challenge should be increased. Otherwise, it would be too unfair to the others." Kong Qinglu frowned and said, "Kong Ran, who do you think he should fight?" Chapter 3370. Me. Kong Ran didn't beat around the bush and gave a direct answer. After a pause, he continued, "If he can't defeat me, I won't recognize him even if he defeats Zhen Ruochen. I believe the others think the same." If he can defeat me, it means that his strength is above all of us. With such strength, no one will be dissatisfied with his ranking in the holy war. Hearing Kongran's words, the people around were stunned. Was Kongran provoking Mo Qingyun? Mr. Mo, you're in big trouble. Seeing Kongran's reaction, Kong Luor blinked her beautiful eyes and said with a playful expression, "It's said that Kongran is interested in Zhen Ruochen's sister. Now he's standing up for her. Maybe it's because of this." Mo Qingyun was speechless. He really didn't expect there to be such a secret. Kong Xuanin's pretty face tightened after hearing Kong Luor's words. She said, "It's fine if no one takes the lead. Now that Kongran has stood up, I'm afraid the others will agree." Sure enough, as soon as Kong Xianin finished speaking, several people agreed with Kongran. "That's right. Mo Qingyun isn't a member of our clan. How can we let him take a place? In my opinion, we should cancel his qualification now and directly exclude him." "You can't say that. If he's really strong, he can be qualified. In this way, he will have to fight Kongran. I'll only recognize his qualification if he defeats Kongran." Everyone was dissatisfied. Hearing everyone's words, Zhen Ruochen was overjoyed and his eyes flashed. He said, "Kongran is right. Mo Qingyun isn't qualified in the first place. Now that he's participating in the qualification battle, it's already a special case. Therefore, if he wants to compete for a place, it'll be more difficult. He has to defeat the strongest." If there was anyone present who was most unwilling to fight with Mo Qingyun, it was undoubtedly Zhen Ruochen. His strength was probably not much stronger than Yang Luo and Kong Shui. Mo Qingyun had not broken through to the heavenly god realm, yet he was able to crush Yang Luo and defeat him. Now that Mo Qingyun's cultivation had improved, it would not be difficult for him to defeat Zhen Ruochen. Since the possibility of losing was extremely high, Zhen Ruochen naturally didn't want to take the risk. He would fight with Mo Qingyun to determine his qualifications. Seeing everyone's reaction, Mo Qingyun was also surprised. He was very surprised by this turn of events. Immediately, Mo Qingyun looked at Kongran, considering how to deal with it. While Mo Qingyun was sizing up Kongran, Kong Qinglu and a group of elders began to discuss how to deal with it. This matter could be big or small. He had to come up with a foolproof plan. After all, the status and weight of Kongran and the others were not the same as the previous people. "This guy is troublesome. He's being targeted by Kongran." Kong Xian's pretty face was shocked when she saw the change. She said, "Kongran's strength may be a little stronger than an ordinary saintess. Mo Qingyun's strength is not weak. Can he fight with Kongran?" While everyone was surprised and curious, Kong Qinglu and the others discussed and decided to adopt Kongran's suggestion. She said, "Kongran's suggestion is more reasonable. Whether Mo Qingyun can qualify or not will be determined by his battle with Kongran." Green Sky Willow's words immediately stunned everyone. The difference between Mo Qingyun's battle with Kongran and Zhen Ruochen's battle was too great. "Mo Qingyun, good luck to you." Hearing Kong Qingliu's words, Zhen Ruochen smiled proudly and turned to walk out of the battle area. Presumably, in his opinion, Kongran was bound to win the battle between Mo Qingyun and Kongran. In this way, he wouldn't be eliminated. Hearing Zhen Ruochen's words, Mo Qingyun looked at his back and said with a smile, "My luck has always been very good. You, on the other hand, don't seem to have much luck. As for you, it's someone else's turn to decide whether you can participate in the holy war or not." Mo Qingyun's few words of ridicule made Zhen Ruochen's face turn extremely ugly. Although he didn't want to agree, he had to admit it. Mo Qingyun's words were exactly what he was unwilling to accept. His fate was controlled by someone else. As soon as Zhen Ruochen walked down, Kongran raised his head and slowly walked to the battle arena. Kongran came to the battle arena and glanced at Mo Qingyun, saying, "I didn't mean to target you. It's just that you're unlucky to have to fight with Zhen Ruochen. You may have to replace him. Therefore, I didn't wait to step up and eliminate you in advance. Hearing Kongran's words, Emo Chingyun shook his head and said, I don't think you have the ability to eliminate me in advance. You, on the other hand, this has nothing to do with you. Why did you have to meddle in other people's business? What if Zhen Ruochen was eliminated after you took action? What would you do then? Kongran didn't care about Emo Chingyun's ridicule. He just smiled confidently and said, That kind of thing will never happen to me. If I want to defeat you, it'll take at most 10 moves. As soon as Kongran's words fell, he released his aura and pressed down on Emo Chingyun. Under Kongran's aura, Emo Chingyun's expression turned solemn and he couldn't help but take a few steps back. So strong. Sensing the pressure of Kongran's aura, Emo Chingyun was shocked and said, I'm afraid his strength has reached the God Emperor level. He can defeat ordinary early-stage God Emperors. While Emo Chingyun was surprised, he didn't dare to be careless and immediately urged his bloodline and physique. Amethyst Thunder Dragon Physique. Absolute Beginning Dark Creation Bloodline. As his bloodline and physique were urged, a powerful aura also erupted from Emo Chingyun's body. The two auras cancelled each other out, and the pressure on Emo Chingyun instantly decreased by a lot. What a waste of effort! Seeing Emo Chingyun withstanding the aura, Kongran's eyes turned cold and he took the lead to attack Emo Chingyun. Kongran raised his palm, and a violent divine power gathered in his palm like a whirlwind. Then, a huge palm blasted out, fusing more than 100,000 law threads. Facing Kongran's palm, Emo Chingyun's expression tensed and he hurriedly blocked it. Soon, 25,000 law threads condensed above Emo Chingyun's head. Divine Thunder Dragon Transformation Wave. Emo Chingyun punched out. Divine power gathered crazily on his fist and blasted out a black dragon shadow. Dragon shadow left his fist and fused with 25,000 law threads. His aura instantly skyrocketed a few notches. Then, the palm shadow and the dragon shadow collided with each other, making a loud noise that shook the sky. However, at this time, neither Emo Chingyun nor Kongran retreated. Their figures flashed and charged at each other. Seeing such a scene, the surrounding people were shocked, and all of them looked nervous. Emo Chingyun and Kongran were going to face each other head-on. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.